hold. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem posted on X late last night that the heinous individual should never have been allowed into the country, pausing now what's called the Diversity V Lottery visa program that offers up to 50,000 visas a year. Russian leader Vladimir Putin is touting success in his war in Ukraine, announcing his troops are advancing across the battlefield, adding he's confident his military goals in the invasion can be achieved. Though this weekend, U.S. and Russian officials will hold talks in Miami on American peace plan trying to stop the war. U.S. Ambassador to NATO Matt Whitaker just told Fox.
I think this is our chance. I think right now is the moment, based on everything that I'm being told about the situation, is it is really down to some final delicate negotiations.
European leaders are giving Ukraine $105 billion in loans to keep funding the fight. America's listening to Fox News.
Raise a glass, America. Introducing the Fox News Wine Shop, featuring award-winning wines from the coast to the heartland at a range of prices delivered direct to your door. So don't wait. Go to foxnewswineshop.com and use code FNRadio20 for 20% off your first purchase of 6 bottles or more. Go to foxnewswineshop.com now. Offer expires at midnight on December 31st, 2025. 20% discount excludes wine club offers and cannot be combined with any other promotion. Must be 21 or older to order. Please drink responsibly.
The Fox Nation holiday sale is happening now.
Merry Christmas to one and all.
And we're unwrapping our final sale of the year.
There's only one thing in my life now that really matters.
Fox Nation for just $2.99 a month. Sign up today and start streaming season 2 of Fox Nation's exclusive series, Martin Scorsese Presents The Saints.
People came to me from out of the darkness, and they cried out for God's love.
Patrick, now it is time for you to return home.
Get Fox Nation for only $2.99 a month. Go to foxnation.com and sign up today.
An Army sergeant accused of shooting up a Georgia base faces arraignment today at Fort Stewart.
28-year-old Sergeant Cornelius Radford is charged with shooting 4 soldiers and a civilian worker, who was his romantic partner, with his personal handgun in August. Fellow soldiers were able to disarm and restrain him until military police arrived. He's facing attempted murder and assault charges. Gary Baumgarten, Fox News.
We're learning more about what President Trump announced in his address to the nation Wednesday night. Checks for the troops. They actually were already in the works. A housing supplement included in a massive legislation that Congress approved earlier this year.
The bonus checks are being called the Warrior Dividend and are being funded by the One Big Beautiful Bill.
More than 1.45 million service members will, in the coming days, receive a one-time tax-free bonus of $1,776.
Hegseth calling the bonuses
a direct investment in the brave men and women who carry on the legacy of our armed forces every single day.
The secretary also said that the action reinforces one of the administration's goals
of how the War Department is working to improve the quality of life for our military personnel and their families.
The secretary reminded troops that he and the president, quote, have your back. Kevin Uretsky, Fox News.
On Wall Street, stock futures are rising modestly the day after gains. The Dow rose 65 points. The Nasdaq surged up 313. On Thursday night football, a divisional battle with a possible playoff top seed on the line, and it came down to one final play.
Darnold throws, caught for the 2 points. Eric Saubert.
That 2-point conversion in overtime won it for Seattle on Amazon Prime Video. The Seahawks beat the Los Angeles Rams 38-37 to improve to 12-3, taking over first place in the NFC West, just ahead of now 11-4 LA. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
Listen, I'm going to be straight with you. Pain just doesn't hurt your body. It steals your life. I know because I've seen it with people I care about, and maybe you're dealing with it right now. Here's what I love about Dr. Ashley Caravelli and QC Kinetics. They get it. They're not pushing surgery. They're not handing out pills. They're using your body's own healing power to fix what's broken. This is cutting edge. I've talked to people who've been through this. These are real results. No going under the knife, no medication fog, no sitting on the couch recovering, just your body doing what it was designed to do, heal itself. QC Kinetics gives you long-term relief. Make 2026 the year you get back to living without pain. They've got weekend appointments, free consultations, and you can use your HSA or FSA spending accounts. Your first consultation is free, so don't hesitate to call to find out more. Call 312-827-6261. Again, 312-827-6261. One more time, that number is 312-827-6261.
Did you know a will alone does not keep your family out of court when you die? The court still has to approve your will, but Get a Living Trust and your estate can be settled clearly without issue. Talk to the attorneys at Naumann & Associates. They prepare wills and trusts for a flat fee, no surprises, no hourly rate. With decades of experience, they know the law and offer a free consultation. Contact Naumann & Associates in Elk Grove Village, nalawgroup.com. Call 847-593-8777.
Want to see if you could pay less in taxes? Try the quick and easy tax calculator at willsave.com. Yes, a free tax calculator. That's WILSAVE.com. Calculate how you could keep more of your hard-earned money and give less to Uncle Sam, especially in retirement. Get your free tax analysis today at willsave.com. And don't forget to tune in to Protecting Your Assets with Steve Shyman every Saturday morning at 8, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Salem News Channel, your go-to source for news and conservative opinion. We reveal how politics hits home, how your family, your freedoms, your way of life are debated, challenged, even regulated. Every day we cut through the noise, pitting nonsense against common sense. On every screen, in every home, Salem News Channel is across America.
Ready for some holiday magic? Pack up the family and cruise over to Go-Bert's Farm in Pingree Grove, where 2 incredible Christmas light shows are waiting to light up your night. First up, the Go-Bert's Christmas Drive-Thru Light Show. We're talking millions of lights synchronized to music that'll have you cranking up the volume. Picture this: dancing penguins getting their groove on, snowflakes cascading all around you, reindeer galloping through enchanted fields, plus a dazzling tunnel of lights that's pure Christmas magic. But wait, there's more. The legendary Larson Christmas Light Show, the one everyone's been raving about from Campton Hills, is now right here on the Go-Bert's property. 30 minutes of jaw-dropping lights, spectacular special effects, and surprise character visits that'll make the kids lose their minds with excitement. Here's the best part. You can experience both shows in one epic night. Perfect for families, couples, or even your company party bus. Because yes, limos and party buses are totally welcome. Per vehicle pricing keeps it affordable, but grab your tickets online now because these shows are selling fast. Visit GoBerts.com for tickets, times, and all the details. Go-Bert's Farm, where Christmas dreams come to life.
This December could be one that you'll always remember if you enter the Roland's Jewelers 12 Days of Christmas contest. You could win a $200 gift card from Roland's Jewelers in Libertyville. We're drawing 12 winners throughout the month of December, and you could be one of them. Enter today at 560theanswer.com/gift. That's 560theanswer.com/gift.
It's December 19th, and this is your Fox Daily Snapshot. Today is Look for an Evergreen Day, established by the National Arborist Association for people to appreciate the beauty of these trees outside the confines of merely being bedecked with glittering lights and ornaments. On this day in 2019, the earliest fossilized trees, 386 million years old, are found in a quarry in Cairo, New York. A study published in Current Biology. In 2016, the Electoral College votes 304 to 227 to nominate Donald Trump for president over the objections of 7 faithless electors. On this same day, a truck slams into a Christmas market in Berlin, Germany, killing 12, injuring 48. Born on this day in 1906, Leonid Brezhnev, the leader of the Communist Soviet Union for 18 years. Paulina Gretzky, born on this day in 1988. She's the daughter of ice hockey legend Wayne Gretzky and Janet Jones. I'm CJ Papa. That's your Fox Daily Snapshot.
When you're looking to make your business bulletproof, what comes to mind? Trustworthiness? Accuracy? Truthiness? Well, that's not even a real word. In today's competitive business landscape, considerations like trust, attention to service, accuracy, and knowledge are critical. So is cost, and finding the right balance is important, especially where your business insurance, employee benefits, and executive compensation needs are concerned. For bulletproofing your business, remember DSP Insurance Services. DSP is family-owned and has provided comprehensive risk management solutions and strategic excellence across industries for over 40 years. Business owners continue to partner with DSP because they offer the robust services of a national broker, yet a personal touch that is harder than ever to find these days. Contact DSP Insurance Services for a business and risk audit today. Visit online at dspmybusiness.com. That's dspmybusiness.com. DSP Insurance, your outsourced risk management department since 1981.
Rashaw talks about building income in retirement.
You know, you can actually structure it in a way that have that $4,000 a month coming in the door every single month. So you don't have to look at the stock ticker and say, oh, the stock market's up today, stock market's down. You still got that $4,000 a month, and having that opportunity to take the vacations and do all the fun things in retirement that you always dreamed to do.
Unleash Your Wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
82 million Americans rely on AM radio for news, sports, talk, and emergency alerts. But unless Congress acts now, AM could disappear from new cars. Tell lawmakers AM radio matters to you. Text AM to 39179 and urge Congress to pass the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act before it's too late.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
You know, nothing beats the comfort of a perfectly heated home.
And when it comes to heating your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Air Right Heating and Cooling is fast. When your furnace breaks down, they'll fix it right away.
Just like that. Big time results. No waiting around. You get the job done right. And let's face it, who doesn't love being warm, right? It's beautiful. When it's freezing, I crank up that amazing furnace. Burn, baby, burn. Trust me, you'll say, wow, I've never felt this warm in my life.
If you like keeping your hard-earned money, then contact Air Right Heating and Cooling. Tell them AM 560 sent you, and right now you'll receive $56 off any service.
Unbelievable.
Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling. Doing it right since 1959.
Adult Beverage Solutions is looking for a brand ambassador in all areas for beverage sampling events. You have the ability to create your own schedule because most events take place Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays at local grocery stores and independent liquor stores. Flexible scheduling with the ability to choose events that you would like to work. Receive event pay weekly. State alcohol certification is mandatory for all ambassadors. Must be 21 years of age. Competitive pay with the opportunity to earn bonus for exceptional performance. Each event you will provide consumers with product education while collecting consumer feedback. If you are interested, our team would like to connect with you about this opportunity. Please email us at careers.abstastings@gmail.com with your information and where you are located, and our team will be in touch soon. Or check us out online at adultbeveragesolutions.com/join-now. That's adultbeveragesolutions.com/join-now.
Dan Proft here to tell you about our 2025 Food for the Poor campaign. If you've listened to this station and to our show for any length of time, then you already know about Food for the Poor. They are a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean. We all know about how bad the situation is in Latin America and the Caribbean right now. Economic decline, political instability and corruption, and high food prices. The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor and their partners who are providing life-saving food relief on the ground. But in order to get food and water to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your gift of just $150 can provide food and water for 2 children for an entire year. For a gift of $300, you can provide food and water for 4 children for an entire year. To make a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673. Or visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor. And if you are a small business owner or you make the marketing or advertising decisions for a business, then you need to become a business benefactor. Just make a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor. And AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air here on AM 560 The Answer between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to you. Lock in your 2026 marketing now at this incredible price. It really is the best deal in all of Chicago radio. You'll join a long list of businesses who are reaching AM 560's audience of affluent decision makers. And through the generosity of your business, you'll also be helping more than 30 children for a year. To take advantage of this deal, just call John Gallagher at 847-472-8950. Again, 847-472-8950. That number, one more time, 847-472-8950. Or go to 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor. That website again, 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor.
I love giving jewelry as a gift. Roland's Jewelers is the perfect place for that magical holiday gift. Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. Roland's Jewelers is the absolute perfect place for the magical holiday gift for someone you love. Buying jewelry is about trust. Roland's is the jeweler I trust. I'm a customer, and I'm always amazed by their 5-star Google reviews, so many of them. But why not? They're the best. They're family-owned. Hey, getting engaged? Roland's has a large selection of mined and lab-grown diamonds at great prices. Choose from beautifully crafted engagement rings from designer Simon G. or Italian designer Roberto Coin, offering stunning diamond pendants and earrings. How about a Tag Heuer watch with cutting-edge technology? I love mine from Roland's. I continue to be impressed at how expertly trained their staff is. Visit Roland's Jewelers in downtown Libertyville or RolandsJewelers.com. That's Roland's, ROLLANDS, Roland's Jewelers, a family-owned jeweler you can trust, just like I do.
Don't get stuck with a cold shower this winter. Give CenterGuard Plumbing a call. Get a new 40-gallon water heater installed for just $1,195 for standard installation, or a 50-gallon heater for $1,295 standard installation. A proud new sponsor of AM 560, CenterGuard is offering specials on new water heaters. Old man winter is here. Don't get stuck in a cold, and the same can happen to your water heater. If you're having hot water issues or your water heater's over 8 years old, take advantage of this winter special today. CenterGuard Plumbing is Chicagoland's same-day water heater experts. Call before noon, and they can schedule your repair or install the same day on in-stock water heaters. They'll even haul away your old one, no charge. You're only a text away from install today. Call 847-406-8883. Mention AM 560 to receive winter special pricing. That's 847-406-8883. Call or text 847-406-8883 or visit CenterGuardPlumbing.com.
Did you know a will alone does not keep your family out of court when you die? The court still has to approve your will, but get a living trust, and your estate can be settled clearly without issue. Talk to the attorneys at Naumann & Associates. They prepare wills and trusts for a flat fee, no surprises, no hourly rate. With decades of experience, they know the law and offer a free consultation. Contact Naumann & Associates in Elk Grove Village, nalawgroup.com. Call 847-593-8777.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be breezy and significantly colder as clouds give way to some sunshine with a high of 25. Tonight will remain rather cloudy and breezy, but not as cold later on with a low of 23. Temperatures will rise into the mid-30s. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
This hourly segment is brought to you by The Real Story with Jeannie Ives, powered by Breakthrough Ideas, Sunday evening at 7 on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Merry Christmas.
On AM 560.
Ho, ho, ho.
The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So, law enforcement got its man, the individual both responsible for the murder of 2 Brown University students and injuring 9 others, as well as, we found out, the murder of a top nuclear scientist from MIT who was killed in his home a couple of days after the Brown University shooting. This was the police chief for Providence, Rhode Island, explaining the process by which they came to identify and confirm the identity. Of course, as you know by now, I'm sure, they tracked him to a storage locker where he was found dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. That's what we're told. And this is what the police chief for Rhode Island had to say about it.
Succeeds where technology alone cannot. We looked at financial records. We looked at video footages. And in the specific incident, it was actually a video that provided us with a description of a vehicle. That was corroborated through a tip that was received to the tip center. That room was packed with detectives, agents, receiving calls on a daily basis. We started early and left late. Then Flock and the LPR was able to provide us with this description of this vehicle. That vehicle was picked up by Flock, which led us to a car rental place in Massachusetts. Through that, the agents and their work as well were able to get us footage of this individual, as well as a copy of the agreement which provided his real name. The video of that subject matched the description of that person of interest that this police department was desperate to put handcuffs on. That individual was identified as Claudio Neves Valenti, date of birth, and he was a 48-year-old man. He was a Brown student, he was a Portuguese national, and his last known address was in Miami, Florida.
Portuguese national who was in this country legally as a first coming to the country on a student visa in the to enroll in the master's PhD science program at Brown, and then maintained lawful or obtained lawful permanent resident status in 2017. That's what we're told. Christina Paxson is the president of Brown University. She had this to say about the shooter's time there.
And he took a leave of absence effective April 2001 before formally withdrawing effective July 31st, 2003. During his time at Brown, Neves Valenti was enrolled only in physics classes. The majority of physics classes at Brown have always been held within the Barris and Hawley classrooms and labs. Now, detailed records indicating where specific courses were held don't extend back to 2001.
Yeah, the Barris and Hawley building is where, of course, the mass shooting took place. So the point is that he was familiar with that building, although there are questions that surround that as well. One more piece of backstory here, explaining where we are before we get to the questions that we still don't have answers to, and there are many. Leah Foley is the U.S. Attorney for the state of Massachusetts, and she provided essentially the sequencing of what occurred after the Brown University shooting. As I said, 2 days later, he drives 50 miles from Rhode Island to the home of this top nuclear scientist, Nuno Loureiro, and kills him in his home. That's what we're told. Do we have motives for any of this? No, we don't. But this is U.S. Attorney Leah Foley.
During a study session and began shooting at students, killing Ella Cook and Mohammad Aziz Umarzokov, and injuring 9 others. Between December 13th and December 14th, Neves Valenti returned to Massachusetts. On December 15th, he murdered MIT professor Nuno Loureiro at Loureiro's home in Brookline, Massachusetts. At some point while he was in Massachusetts, he switched the plates on the Nissan Sentra to an unregistered plate out of Maine. Immediately following Professor Loureiro's murder, Neves Valenti drove to a storage facility in Salem, New Hampshire, where he had rented a storage unit in November of this year. Since the December 13th shootings at Brown and the December 15th shooting in Brookline, state, local, and federal law enforcement officials have been working hand in hand around the clock to identify the shooter and prevent him from inflicting further harm. I have said this before and will continue to believe when law enforcement agencies work together, crimes are solved and the public is protected. The information we provided to you tonight would not be possible without the dedicated men and women of law enforcement in multiple districts throughout New England, including the FBI, ATF, HSI, the U.S. Marshal Service, Massachusetts State Police, Rhode Island State Police, Providence.
Yeah, you get it. A whole of law enforcement approach to this. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Okay, with all that said, we still don't have confirmation on what, if anything, the shooter said before he opened fire on that study session in that physics hall, in that engineering building in on the campus of Brown University. We don't really have answers about cameras. Christine Paxson, the president, again, was pressed on that, and this is how that went.
Video played a big role in this case. The neighbor's video, the rental car video, but not the video from the building that he walked in freely both before when he got in a confrontation and when he came back in and decided to kill people. You didn't have cameras in that building, just say it, so we can get this over. And my next question is, will you put cameras in, will you put the cameras in that building? Will there be more cameras in that building?
Yeah, you know, I think we need to look back. We'll look at everything that is done, but I do not think a lack of cameras in that building it had anything to do with what happened there. And we will go forward. Thank you.
Okay, so we don't, she concedes the point. She doesn't explicitly say it, but she just says a lack of cameras didn't have anything to do with what happened. No, but it had something to do with perhaps why it took so long to identify this person and apprehend him. And the question, of course, is, were there cameras and they were disabled under pressure from the pro-Hamas encampment folks who didn't want to be identified, wanted to, create mayhem on campus at Brown University like they did in so many other campuses without having to be identified and thus face disciplinary action. For example, not terribly forthcoming on that issue. What, if anything, was said, as I mentioned? What, if anything, was said before he opened fire? You had the Attorney General for Rhode Island, again, that Nerona, who's been really posturing before the cameras. This is his big opportunity. He clearly sees, saying eyewitnesses have essentially provided different accounts. Some said he didn't say anything. Some said he barked. And others, we know from reporting, have said that he said Allahu Akbar. So that's unclear. Any sort of motive? What is the connection to the building, to the students? Was it a targeting of Ella Cook, for example, because she's the VP of the Republican Club? There were some reports that she was shot multiple times. So was she actually the target and he just opened fire to make it look like she wasn't the target? But it was just a random shooting of whoever he could kill. Although, what would the nexus be between a 48-year-old dude and the vice president of the Republican Club at Brown University? Why would he fixate on her? What's the connection to the nuclear scientist at MIT? There's some suggestion that they were in similar circles in the physics space when they were, coming up and plying their talents in the discipline of physics. There's also the question about access to the building. There was some reporting that you needed a key card to get into the building for this study session. So if that's true, how did he access the building? I mean, there's just a real lack of detail here. And then the other piece of this that is really wild, that second person of interest, the person he crossed paths with near the building after he spent 6 hours casing the campus. And what was he doing casing the campus, and so on and so forth. But the individual that they wanted to speak with, that turned out to be a dude. And according to a local radio talk show host there talking to law enforcement sources, he was on Jesse Waters' program. This is hard to believe, but this is the reporting. Love a response from the assembled public officials there. The guy that he interacted with, and maybe at least temporarily caused him to retreat and not carry out this horrible crime that he committed, is a Brown graduate who is now homeless and is known locally as living in or around the building where the mass shooting took place. Tom Quinlan is that local reporter that Jesse Waters spoke with.
Turns out to be a man, apparently made contact with the shooter 2 hours before the shooting itself happened. Apparently, according to what I'm hearing from my law enforcement sources here on the ground, is that this suspect, the shooting suspect, was casing out the area for nearly 2 weeks. And there was a confrontation with this person that has, according to my law enforcement officials, is being identified as a homeless person who was living in or around that Brown University building that we're all talking about at Barris and Holly, graduated from Brown University at 2010, had a confrontation with the shooter before the shooting itself happened. And when you look at that video that the FBI put out the other day from that home, that is allegedly what the shooter is running away from.
Wait. You're saying, Tom, that the second person was a homeless Brown graduate that was living at Brown in that building?
Yeah. According to my sources, that's what they're saying, yes.
Okay. So someone graduated from Brown and is now homeless, and Brown's letting them live in one of their buildings? Was it the same building that was shot up?
Yes, it was. And the details that I'm getting are very sparse at this time. You know, a lot of this information is coming in rapidly fast. But according to the law enforcement sources that I talked to earlier today, this homeless person is considered to be a super genius, apparently. Graduated from Brown University in 2010. I don't know how he became homeless, but he's the person that we see in the picture that was released yesterday by police. And apparently came in contact with the shooter 2 hours before the shooting happened itself. And apparently the shooter was going to commit the act at the time, but after the confrontation, the shooter left and eventually ended up coming back.
Yeah, because there was some sort of, not a struggle, but there was running. Someone was running away. Was the suspect running away from the homeless Brown graduate?
That's what I understand from my law enforcement sources, yes.
I mean, is this loosely based on Real Genius, where Laszlo lives below the dorm room of the Val Kilmer's little friend there, and he's figuring out how to angle the sweepstakes games? If you have anybody see Real Genius, I mean, this is not funny because obviously of the tragic events and the deaths, the murders that were committed and the people that were injured. But I mean, what? Does somebody want to ask Christine Paxson, the president of Brown University, if there is a homeless Brown grad that's living in the engineering building where this mass shooting took place, or on campus somewhere in close proximity? And if so, why? Who is this guy? What? Okay, there's more questions to ask and more angles to address, and we'll do that at 5:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 18 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. The Chicago City Council is set to vote on a budget tomorrow. According to reports, the council is set to vote on the so-called alternative budget plan. It was presented by several alders who opposed the budget that was originally initiated by Mayor Brandon Johnson. Should tomorrow's vote pass, the city will avoid a shutdown of services. After yesterday's meeting, Johnson said he believed that the two sides were close to agreeing, noting that there were just a few issues to sort out. The deadline to pass the city budget and avoid a shutdown is December 30th. A grand jury has formally indicted Lawrence Reed for setting a woman on fire last month. Reed is facing federal terrorism charges. Last week, he was charged with attacking two passengers back in March, and now the grand jury has also charged him with trying to burn down City Hall. Reed is in federal custody awaiting trial. This report is a service of Blindster.com. Kyle started Blindster in 2010 to make quality, custom-made blinds affordable to everyone. Traditional window covering retailers are expensive. Blindster's prices are low and their blinds are guaranteed to fit. Blindster.com.
Scott Jennings sees a disconnect.
So when asked what illegal orders the president has given, Slotkin couldn't identify a single one, and then she justified her calls for mutiny in the military by citing Nuremberg and a Hollywood movie. Folks, these Democrats may not be living in reality. Their lack of connection to planet Earth is getting dangerous.
The Scott Jennings Show. Weekdays at 1, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
This past year has been one of the hardest in MyPillow's history. It's because of you that they are making it through. They want to thank you for your continued support by passing on some Christmas specials to our listeners. Get the Children's Bible Story Pillow 5-pack for $29.98. My Slippers with a free bottle of leather protectant spray for $39.98. Blankets, comforters, and duvets for as low as $25, and a blowout sale on the standard MyPillows for just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY to take advantage of these wholesale prices, including the standard size MyPillow, originally $49.98, now only $14.98. Queens $18.99. Kings only $1 more. 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. We know MyPillow products come with a 10-year warranty, but MyPillow has just announced that they are extending their 60-day money-back guarantee. That's right. Orders placed between now and December 25th will have their 60-day money-back guarantee extended through March 1st, 2026. Promo code LIBERTY.
You know me. I believe in freedom, independence, and the values that built this country. Now, I'll be the first to say President Trump has taken the steps towards reviving our economy. But inflation, trade deficits, and global uncertainty are hitting hardworking Americans where it hurts. Here's the truth. I refuse to let these hidden forces decide my future. That's why I help protect my wealth with real assets, physical gold and silver. For generations, these metals have held value no matter who's in office or what the markets do. To me, gold and silver mean independence, not just for today, but for tomorrow. If you want the peace of mind I've found, it's time to take action. I've partnered with the #1 rated precious metals company, Goldco, and right now they're offering first-time buyers a rebate of up to 10% in bonus silver on qualified accounts. Visit LaraLikesGold.com to learn how you can help safeguard your savings with gold and silver the way I do. That's LaraLikesGold.com.
Check off the wish list with instant savings and free battery offers on select steel tools. Shop online or in store.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be breezy and significantly colder with clouds giving way to some sunshine. The temperature will reach a high of 25. Tonight, expect rather cloudy and breezy conditions. It won't be as cold later on with temperatures dropping to a low of 23 but rising into the mid-30s. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here talking about the person that law enforcement identified yesterday as the man responsible for those murders at Brown University, the murders and the attempted murders, as well as the murder of an MIT professor. We don't have motive. We don't have confirmation on a lot of things. The story gets increasingly bizarre, as we were just discussing, per Jesse Waters' interview of a local radio talk show guy and news guy in Providence, Rhode Island, who said the interaction with a guy on campus that police were trying to identify and speak with, as we discussed a bit yesterday, was a 2010 Brown grad who is now homeless and who is apparently or allegedly living in the building or near the building on campus where the mass shooting took place. And he's supposed to be some sort of physics genius, like as I was saying, it was reminiscent of a subplot in Real Genius. Anyway, But before we get too far away from it, I mean, let's just remember also what we're talking about. And I mentioned Ella Cook and the other Brown student that was murdered as well, who was from Uzbekistan and was apparently a physics prodigy as well. And that's a terrible loss. But one of Ella Cook's friends at school, Phoebe Payas, paid tribute to her on Fox the other day.
I knew she was taking Principles of Economics, which the class is held in Barretts Hawley, and her location hadn't moved, and we were all just hoping that that she had dropped her phone running out, and that's why we couldn't get a hold of her.
Right.
But Ella was the type of person that, regardless of if you've never met her before, she was just such a bright light. She was extremely welcoming. And just, it's just such a devastating loss. I can't believe that she's not with us anymore.
And so the shooter is gone, self-inflicted gunshot wound found at a storage facility in Salem, New Hampshire. That's where law enforcement traced him to. But questions remain, and of course, I think it's definitely fair, if not generous, to say the performance of local law enforcement in Providence and the local politicos and the Brown University president did not exactly inspire confidence, and they continue to not exactly inspire confidence because we can't even get confirmation as to what, for example, what, if anything, was said before the shooter opened fire to try to drive to a motivation. This was the Attorney General, State of Rhode Island, I mentioned, Peter Narana, who answered that question. It was actually put to the police chief, Oscar Lopez, but Narana interceded, probably to the police chief's benefit.
In terms of what was said, I don't know any more today than what I told you yesterday, or the day before. There are some witnesses who said he said nothing. There are some that say he made a barking noise. Don't ask me. I don't know why. And that's it. There is no other spoken word beyond that we are aware of as we stand before you tonight. And we have spoken to everybody that we have been able to locate who's been inside that building.
Yeah. Just rounding out this team here in Providence, Rhode Island. Jesse Waters, going back to him, had a good profile on the guy in charge of the campus police, because this is part of the conversation too. Rodney Champion is his name, and his past and present are more than a little concerning.
Well, we just discovered the Brown University police chief isn't really a big fan of policing. He once said this: communities don't want policing done to them. How this guy came to Brown is a crazy story. He was the head of campus security at the University of Utah, and right after he was hired there, he was immediately suspended because he didn't have the proper credentials. Utah then told him, we're going to fire you or you're going to have to resign. What's it going to be? So Rodney resigned, and Brown said, we'll take you. And right before this shooting, Brown's police union issued a vote of no confidence in Chief Rodney. The chief's own men accused Rodney of endangering officers and creating a toxic workplace culture. Rodney should know the campus better than anyone, but all week he's been hiding under his desk. He's obviously completely unqualified.
Oh, and I guess that doesn't really completely round out this assembled team, Providence, Rhode Island, between the Brown administration and the local police and the statewide elected officials and the local administrators. Waters, I mentioned at the outset Brett Smiley. I knew this was going to be, a crackerjack operation because this guy, Brett Smiley, the mayor, is this, out and proud gay activist, Dem flack. He came up in politics in Chicago, running Melissa Bean's campaign, as I mentioned at the outset of the week. The chief of staff for the city council, Waters has the drop on, well, I can't really say him, can I?
The Providence City Council chief of staff is a genderless bisexual who was arrested for protesting at Trump Tower this year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The other thing about this Brown University in particular, I had forgotten this. I just clicked yesterday. But Brown University was the target of essentially a whistleblower on the corruption of higher education, particularly the Ivy League. Corruption in the sense of usurious tuition, of bureaucracies that are self-serving, such that, the enlightenment of the students is not the primary focus. Alex Shee is his name. And we had him on the show. Talk about what he testified to before a congressional committee. But, this also speaks to the sort of administrative competence from Christine Paxson, the president, at $3 million a year, on down. And it speaks to Ivy League. It just opens up so many more issues about the state of academia. And normally we're talking about it in terms of cost and curriculum and preparedness, return on investment. But we also have to talk about it in the context of public safety.
My name's Alex Shea, and I'm a rising junior at Brown University, one of the most exclusive institutions in the world. But I'm not here to glorify the Ivy League. I'm here to warn you that the promise of American higher education, of opportunity through meritocracy, is under attack. I'm a legacy student at Brown. I went to a prep school that feeds to the Ivy League. And my parents are doctors who can afford the $93,000 a year sticker price. In other words, I'm exactly who the Ivy League was built for. But what about the kids who weren't born on third base? Statistically speaking, for a smart kid from a poor family, an Ivy League degree can power their ascent to the upper income brackets better than anything else. That's the American dream. But today, that dream is now a luxury good. According to the New York Times, at Brown, the median student's family makes over $200,000 a year. Half the student body comes from the top 5% of earners. And research by Brown's own professor, John Friedman, shows that even equally qualified low-income students are vastly underrepresented. At this very moment, the American people are tightening their belts, and Brown is raising tuition to beyond $90,000 a year. And even while charging students the price of a luxury car, Brown is on track to run a $46 million deficit this year. Where's all the money going? I'll tell you where it's going. It's going into an empire of administrative bloat and bureaucracy. Brown employs 3,805 full-time non-instructional staff for just 7,229 undergrads. That's one administrator for every 2 students. This isn't education. This is bloat, paid for on the backs of students and families who are mortgaging their futures for a shot at a better life. Meanwhile, Grace Calhoun, Brown's athletic director, earns over $1 million. A household assistant on payroll tends to University President Christina Paxson. And when budget cuts are made, these expenses stay while the student experience deteriorates. My dorm floods when it rains, and the burger patties in our dining hall have been replaced by an unappetizing beef mushroom blend. The idea that Brown's administration can be streamlined isn't conjecture. We didn't used to have these many administrators.
One administrator for every 2 students. I mean, that is Cook County level bureaucracy. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. And, of course, you got to prioritize the distribution of the $90,000 a year you get from the kids. Christina Paxson needs a household assistant. You can't be worrying about cameras in every building, for example. Text from 312. They don't just demonstrate incompetence. They do it with snobbery and arrogance. Yeah. True. Amish. Amish texter, of course. Are all these Providence, Rhode Island, and Brown University personhoods just really cast members in a Disney park called Democrat World? Kind of. Yeah. One other aspect of this story, mentioned, came here on a student visa, talking about the killer, the Portuguese national, entered the United States and through the I think he came here on a student visa, and then he was awarded a green card through the Diversity Lottery Immigrant Visa Program, DV1, in 2017. In 2017, you may remember, Trump wanted to end this program. This was following the New York City truck ramming incident by an ISIS terrorist who entered under the DV1 program and killed 8 people. Secretary Noem, DHS, at President Trump's direction, I am immediately directing Center for Immigration Services to pause the DV1 program to ensure no more Americans are harmed by this disastrous program. The Diversity Lottery grants up to 50,000 green cards annually to applicants from countries with low immigration rates to the United States. The program now paused. Now we're going to, and I'm not putting this on the Trump administration, but I'm just talking about, year after year, generation after generation, all of these gaps, the sloppiness. You want to talk about executive incompetence. And, we don't really need to individually vet those Afghan asylees. And then you have the shooting of the National Guardsman. We don't need to pay particular mind to this DV1 program in terms of vetting those lottery winners. As long as they're from countries with low immigration rates to the U.S., we're checking identitarian boxes. Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal.
The Answer.
At almostfreeteeth.com, they're dedicated to making smiles great again. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get a beautiful dental implant supported smile. Check if you qualify right now at almostfreeteeth.com.
This is Albert Mohler for townhall.com. The murderous, premeditated attack at Bondi Beach in Australia forces us to look at 2 undeniable patterns. The first is the pattern of anti-Semitic violence. The second is the larger pattern of terror tied to immigration and Islam. This is not just a targeted terrorist attack on Jewish Australians. It was also a dagger thrust at the heart of Western civilization. Freedom of assembly means nothing if citizens are too afraid to assemble. Some people recoil at the suggestion that immigration and Islamic terrorism had anything to do with this and other recent attacks. But the facts are now plain to see. Western civilization faces a direct threat to both liberty and civilizational survival. Simply put, the vast majority of Muslims around the world do not want to join the civilizational project of the West, including the national project of the United States. We know it because they say it out loud. Folks, we need an honest conversation, and we need it now. I'm Albert Mohler.
This is what Elon Musk once had to say about philanthropy. Take a listen.
Well, I mean, I agree with love of humanity, and I think we should try to do things that help our fellow human beings. But it's very hard. Like, if you care about the reality of goodness rather than simply the perception of it, it's very difficult to give away money well. So I have a large foundation, but I don't put my name on it, and I don't, in fact, I say I don't want my name on anything. But the biggest challenge I find with my foundation is try to give money away in a way that is truly beneficial to people. It's very easy to give money away to get the appearance of goodness. It is very difficult to give money away for the reality of goodness.
Yeah, the appearance of goodness versus the reality of goodness. That's a good construct he offers there. Which brings me to Food for the Poor, because this is not the appearance of goodness. This is doing good. 40-year track record. I'm talking about our Food for the Poor partnership, holiday partnership again this year. 40-year track record, working in more than a dozen of the poorest countries in the Western Hemisphere. They fed millions of people, provided more than $15 billion in aid. again, we're doing our part here in Chicago to try to provide life-saving food and clean water for 2,500 families in the countries that are perpetually struggling with depredation on a scale that we can't appreciate. And sometimes those are compounded by natural disasters, like the hurricane we saw tear Jamaica apart this year. Your gift of $150 can provide food and water for 2 children for an entire year. For a gift of $300, you can provide food and water for 4 children for an entire year. And again, we're about 3/4 of our way there, so we're trying to hit our mark as part of this overall national campaign before Christmas. To make a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673 or visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor. And then, of course, there's our business benefactor program. And we want to thank so many of the businesses that have already enrolled, doing good, not just doing so for the appearance of doing good, as Musk observed. Suburban Welding and Steel, Applied Mechanical, South Suburban Humane Society, DSP Insurance, MS Consulting, IDSupply.com, Nexus Employment, Brusher Machining, Chris Jacobs' team of Century 21 Circle, Victoria Francisi on behalf of Breakthrough Ideas, and so many more. We need donor leadership from the business community. That's always key to make meeting our mark, essentially carrying our weight here on this. And the way that you can enroll in the Business Benefactor Program, along with those businesses I mentioned and many others, is to make a tax-deductible gift of $2,500 to Food for the Poor. And we here at AM 560 will give you or your business 41-minute commercials to air on our airwaves during prime broadcasting hours, Monday to Friday, 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. It's a great marketing deal, the best in Chicago radio, and at the same time, you'll be providing life-saving food and water for more than 30 children in Latin America and the Caribbean. To become a business benefactor, you just call John Gallagher. He's our general manager, and his number is 847-472-8950. Again, 847-472-8950 to enroll in the Business Benefactor Program, and we thank you in advance for your support.
Business owners, now's the time for your business to make the move to a locally owned business bank. Hi, Mike Gallagher here to let you know that you don't have to look far. Signature Bank was founded in Chicago with a simple mission: to help companies like yours grow, succeed, and thrive. Their decisions are made locally by a terrific team that knows your name, cares about your business, and invests in your success. That's why Signature Bank is my bank. I'm a customer. As business owners, they knew that local family-owned businesses were not getting the help they needed or deserved. So I invite you to reach out to my friends at Signature Bank today. Write the number down. Remember this phone number, Signature Bank, 773-467-5630, and learn all about this great bank, 773-467-5630, or visit them online at signaturebank.bank. That's signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank makes commercial banking personal. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
If you or someone you love are getting high quotes for dental implants, visit almostfreeteeth.com today. With a medical PPO insurance plan, it's possible to save 90% off on average to be able to smile again. Check if you qualify now at almostfreeteeth.com.
Need a little hope in your life? Listen to Truth for Life with Alistair Begg every weekday morning starting at 7:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life. AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up at 6:06, while we're on the topic of immigration, that's certainly part of the story with respect to the Brown University shooter, as we were just discussing at the lottery program that has been now paused by Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. There are some other immigration matters to tend to, including the adjudication of the case against Wisconsin Judge Hannah Dugan, who you remember aided and abetted the evasion from ICE of illegal immigrant. We'll start there. Got a little immigration honk at 6:06. It is now 6 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
This is a Fox News alert. The manhunt at Brown University is over.
I'm Dave Anthony. The suspected gunman found dead days after the shooting that left 2 students dead, 9 wounded.
Police credit an anonymous tipster who called into the tip line on Tuesday saying, frankly, that he had seen the shooter in the area just a couple hours before the shooting. That tipster also wrote on Reddit a description of a vehicle, a gray Nissan, with Florida plates just a couple blocks away from the engineering and physics building here on Brown University. Well, that anonymous tipster happens to also be the same man police released images of and were asking the public to help identify because of how close he was seen walking by the shooter in surveillance video. His name is John, a homeless man and former Brown University student.
That's Fox's Brian Yennis. The suspected Brown shooter was tracked to a storage facility where he shot himself dead in Salem, New Hampshire. Fox's Nate Foy is there.
That suspected shooter, his name is Claudio Neves Valente from Portugal. He attended the same university as MIT professor Nuno Loureiro in Lisbon, Portugal, back in the 1990s. Neves Valente is accused of murdering Loureiro in Brookline, Massachusetts, after committing the Brown University shooting.
Valente came to the U.S. in 2017, given a green card, a diversity visa lottery program that Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem has put on hold in a post to X last night. This could be big for the use of medical marijuana. Fox's Jared Halpern is at the White House.
President Trump says his executive order won't legalize or decriminalize marijuana for recreational purposes, but reclassifying cannabis as a Schedule III substance will relax regulations that restricted medical research.
The facts compel the federal government to recognize that marijuana can be legitimate in terms of medical applications when carefully administered in some cases.
America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It is 18 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. The man accused of lighting a woman on fire on a Chicago train has been formally indicted by a grand jury. Fox's Jessica Rosenthal has more.
The grand jury indictment says they believe Lawrence Reed knowingly used gasoline and a lighter to set fire to someone on Chicago's Blue Line train in November with the intent to cause someone bodily harm or death on a mass transportation vehicle. They also charged him with trying to set fire to Chicago City Hall a few days before that. On the Blue Line train, 26-year-old Bethany McGee was left in critical condition with severe burns all over her body and face. At the time of the incident, Reed had been let out of custody on pretrial release after being charged with battery for knocking a psychiatric hospital employee unconscious in Cook County. Reed's record includes over 70 arrests. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
Expect to see more security on CTA bus and train stations starting today. Dozens more police and private security officers will begin patrolling as part of the new Volunteer Special Employment Program. The new program's goal is to increase the number of officers and security personnel, increasing safety. Governor J.B. Pritzker and Mayor Brendan Johnson say the Safety Enhancement Program was already being implemented before the Federal Transportation Administration issued a demand for a detailed plan to better protect riders and personnel or risk losing federal funding. The Food and Drug Administration is warning consumers that several stores are still selling baby formula included in a nationwide recall due to botulism. The FDA has sent warning letters to major retailers, including Target, Walmart, and Kroger, warning them to take action immediately to remove the affected ByHeart baby formula products from shelves. This news update is quickly delivered to you by Quick Delivery Service. Why are you sitting in Friday traffic? Time is money. When you need your important items delivered quickly, Quick Delivery Service will be there to pick it up and take it to its destination. Go to quickdelivery.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
This December could be one that you'll always remember if you enter the Roland's Jewelers 12 Days of Christmas contest. You could win a $200 gift card from Roland's Jewelers in Libertyville. We're drawing 12 winners throughout the month of December, and you could be one of them. Enter today at 560theanswer.com/gift. That's 560theanswer.com/gift.
My name is Whitney Allen. I am a widow. My husband Ryan died. We never thought in a million years we'd have to use life insurance. The unexpected happened. With Ethos, it is so fast and easy. It's 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage through Ethos.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ETHOS.com/term.
Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
You ever wonder why Verizon charges twice as much as Pure Talk for the same basic service? Think it might have something to do with the fact that Verizon spends $12 billion a year on advertising and promotion? That's billion with a B? Yeah, Pure Talk doesn't spend that kind of money on commercials. That's why they can offer unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data on a blazing fast 5G network for just $25 a month. Save an additional 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say the words Micro. That's pound 250, Micro.
Has your business noticed changes with your IT provider? Suddenly, tickets take days, projects stall, and the new techs don't understand your systems. You're repeating yourself, and there's zero strategy to move forward. At Unique Computing Solutions, we fix that. Fast response times, expert guidance, and a team that actually knows your business. Get a free assessment today at uniquecomputing-solutions.com. That's uniquecomputing-solutions.com. Your IT challenges solved.
You okay down there?
I tripped over old china boxes in the basement, and now I'm stuck behind the ping pong table we never use.
I'm coming to the rescue, if I can find you.
You know, if we finished this basement, we could actually enjoy this space.
I think it's time to call Forever Remodeling.
Forever Remodeling turns disaster zones into game rooms, guest bedrooms and bathrooms, home theaters, a custom space just for you. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, everremodeling.com.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Eller. Starting the day off with a crash on the inbound Eisenhower at Wolf Road, but thankfully traffic is very light right now, so not causing too much of a slowdown. It's 14 minutes, and that's both ways on the Eisenhower from Wolf to the old post office. The Kennedy inbound from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange, 17 minutes, outbound is 22. You also have 14 minutes in both directions on the Eden from Lake Cook to Montrose. The inbound Stevenson from the Tri-State to Lakeshore is 17 minutes, outbound is 16. The Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange, 13 minutes, outbound is 11. The inbound express lanes, tapping on those brakes as you approach the Stevenson. This report is the service of almostfreeteeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again, not at almostfreeteeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at almostfreeteeth.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be breezy and significantly colder with clouds giving way to some sunshine. The temperature will reach a high of 25. Tonight, expect rather cloudy and breezy conditions. It won't be as cold later on with temperatures dropping to a low of 23 but rising into the mid-30s. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Health Quest Radio with Dr. David Kolbaba. Saturday mornings at 11. Visit healthquestradio.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer
Merry Christmas.
on AM 560.
Ho, ho, ho.
The Answer.
Put on your yarmulke, here comes Hanukkah. So much funaka to celebrate Hanukkah. Hanukkah is the festival of lights. Instead of one day of presents, we have 8 crazy nights. But when you feel like the only kid in town without a Christmas tree, here's a list of people who are Jewish, just like you and me. David Lee Roth lights the menorah. So do Kirk Douglas, James Caan, and the late Dinah Shore. Guess who eats together at the Carnegie Deli? Bowser from Shanana and Arthur Fonzarelli. Paul Newman's half Jewish and Goldie Hawn's half too. Put them together, what a fine-looking Jew.
We got to get all these holiday songs out. You've heard, brought you Joe Piscopo doing Sinatra, the Sweeney Sisters, Nora Dunn and Jan Hook. So, yeah, you got to get Adam Sandler's Hanukkah song in there, too. Speaking of which, before we get to immigration, we do have the finalists in our Political Song of the Year. We went through a number of nominees yesterday. So, the polls are now open. Let me just play a clip of our 5 finalists, and Open Mic Friday at the end of the show, after our accounting firm of Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe calculates the results, I will deliver the news as to who sang the political song of the year. Again, the finalists, 5 finalists. Alessandra Basher, thank you, Elon.
He gave us cars that drive so fast, made rockets built to blast. Oh, thank you, Elon Musk. He took over Twitter.
All right, there's thank you, Elon. This is short clips today. Of course, Jeff Daniels serenading Nicole Wallace with an original piece, Crazy World.
This is a song I wrote called Crazy World, which is how I cope.
Okay, let's hear it.
I've seen a young girl smiling at something he just said. I watched him fall into her pretty green eyes. His cheeks turned Valentine red. I've seen an old man walking with his wife by his side. I watched him reach down, take her hand. Damned if I didn't cry. This crazy world's gone crazy. Who am I to judge? It's nice to know in a world full of hate, there's someone out there still making love.
All right, our third nominee is the collected work of the American Federation for Government Employees that sponsored boomers to descend on the Capitol in protest of Doge and offer this earworm.
Oh, which side are you on? Which side are you on? Tell me, which side are you on? Which side are you on? We'll fight against Doge. We'll fight Elon Musk. No Elon's kept within our walls. We'll fight from dawn to dusk.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, you can try and get that out of your head for the next 4 hours. Our fourth nominee, it's again a professional, but Jeff Daniels is a sort of a professional, is our friend Remy, who does the great parody songs, original works, based off of a non-original work. Remy from Reason Magazine and Girl on Fire.
Mr. Governor, what do you have to say about the rise in violent crime in the city subway? This place is safe for subway riders. But it's not? Safer than a holiday. What does that even mean? You could ride it any day. But there have been 400 incidents. Don't worry about stuff that happened prior. It seems relevant. We just fixed it all for sure. How? By keeping what we had before. Oh, wait, did you hear that sound? One of the best governor around. No, it sounded more like oh. There it is again, it's so clear. Well, there is nothing to see here. This girl is on fire. This girl is on fire. It could be from a horrible accident. I set her on fire. Ooh. This girl is on fire.
Yes, perhaps the most salient issue of the year in terms of the violence endemic to urban centers, Chicago included. And lastly, and this is controversial, but you can only have 5 finalists. Maybe it's a bit of a legacy pick, gets the nod for the body of work over the span of a 50-year plus career. Neil Young's Big Crime.
No more great again. Big crime in D.C. and the White House. There's big crime in D.C. and the White House.
Okay, those are your 5 finalists. Again, polls are open. Alessandra Basher, thank you, Elon. Jeff Daniels, Crazy World. Neil Young, Big Crime. Remy, Girl on Fire. And, of course, the American Federation of Government Employees. Which side are you on? All right. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line and text line. Feel free to call or text your votes in, and we'll announce the big winner. Open Mic Friday. Now to immigration. Hannah Dugan, I mean, you're looking for accountability from public officials. A Wisconsin jury provided some. Hannah Dugan, you remember her. She was the judge who allowed an illegal immigrant that was in front of her facing 3 domestic assault charges, to which he pleaded nolo contendere. She allowed him to come to chambers and then directed him out a back door upon learning that ICE was there waiting to arrest him after this criminal case was adjudicated. She was arrested and charged with obstruction of justice and of a second charge of concealing a man wanted by immigration authorities. She was convicted yesterday after 6 hours of deliberation of obstructing law enforcement, which is a felony conviction that carries a maximum sentence of up to 5 years in prison. I'm not saying that she's going to serve any serious jail time, but it is a felony conviction. I suspect that she will be disbarred, and should be, and at least it ends her career. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, and sends a message to other activist judges who want to play open borders activist in a robe. Well, you may be making a career-ending decision like Hannah Dugan. So that's something. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. And it's really something to consider against the backdrop of so much propaganda, so much agitprop that the left just puts out on a daily basis on this issue. It's really sickening because they know that they are lying. Let me give you an example. I mean, and they behave like the law doesn't apply to them. But just in terms of the agitprop, how many hundreds of thousands of missing kids are there? Tom Homan reported earlier this week that they've been able to account for 62,000. Is it 130,000? Is it 250,000? 62,000 unaccompanied minors who just disappeared into the ether of America. And yet you have the band manager for the Socialist Spice Girls, Pramila Jayapal, take to the House floor and do her best William Jennings Bryan impersonation over the child the child docket when it comes to adjudicating immigration matters, throwing herself on the well of the House, decrying what she asserts is the maltreatment of kids by this imperious, heartless Trump administration. Do we have Jayapal?
I have personally gone and observed the docket at Immigration Court for Kids. It's called the Kids Docket. What I saw would horrify most Americans. Kids as young as 5, one clinging to a stuffed animal, trying to represent themselves in a complicated legal proceeding in a language that they struggle to understand. Can you imagine a 5-year-old child who doesn't speak English trying to represent themselves in court, being instructed by a judge that you as a child have the right to call a witness and cross-examine the government's witnesses? Going up against a seasoned ICE trial attorney, a full-grown adult who has gone to law school, and trying to challenge what they say about you as a child? It sounds like an absurd nightmare, but this is reality for too many children. Our system already does a great disservice to these kids, and this bill would just make it worse.
Sounds terrible. Till you know this, ICE and the Executive Office for Immigration Review established juvenile docket for children and teenagers. A specialized docket will ensure consistency in juvenile immigration proceedings. Through this initiative, there will be 49 immigration courts across the country that have specialized juvenile dockets. They will also have a specially trained Office of the Principal Legal Advisor staff to manage all cases, which will help ensure tailored, consistent, child-centered support for juvenile non-citizens. In keeping with the Secretary of Homeland Security's priority to combat human trafficking, these case managers will be trained in identifying signs of child exploitation, as well as available avenues for protection. The juvenile docket will also maximize opportunities for children and teenagers appearing in immigration courts to access outside legal counsel and advice. That press release detailing the dockets that Pramila Jayapal is decrying was released. That press release was made public December 21st of 2023. And the Homeland Security in question was Ali Mayorkas. And the program persists in that form to this day. Completely manufactured, what Jayapal said. Completely erroneous. And she knew or should have known. This is who you're dealing with. And you want to have an honest conversation to forge some common ground, make some compromises with just fundamentally bad faith actors like Jayapal and her ilk. This is why you can't make those deals. This is why everybody should have learned the lesson from the 1986 immigration reform bill. And any discussion at this juncture of some tit for tat, forget it. The Republican Party, President Trump obviously is acting this way, but in terms of providing legislative remedies as well as executive action that could have more staying power, vote your shares. Use the authority granted to you by the public, by voting Americans, to impose your will, the people's will, when it comes to law and order and the enforcement of law to maintain order and an orderly immigration system. That's just incredible. That's one of nobody will talk about this, but it's just such an example of how egregiously mendacious these open borders leftists are. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Ken in Plainfield.
Yeah, I'm obviously not a lawyer unless you count my internet degree, but I'm wondering if the feds can use this to charge the people in Fairfax County, Virginia, who did not honor an ICE detainer and let out an illegal alien, and he went and killed someone and arrested in Virginia 2 days later. I mean, somehow, somewhere, there's got to be accountability for this, but I feel there never will be.
Well, thanks for the call. I mean, that's the sanctuary state, city conundrum. You're not compelled to enforce federal immigration law. You just can't interfere with its enforcement. And that's where Hannah Dugan crossed the line. So Brandon Johnson, J.B. Pritzker, J.B. and B.J., you can do Pontius Pilate. We are not compelled under federal law to assist federal law enforcement. We just can't obstruct them. And so you have all these sanctuary jurisdictions. That's the rub. Speaking of legislative action, though, one Republican legislator who is advancing a good measure to tackle some of the problem, which is the conference of welfare benefits to people in this country illegally. Brandon Gill, our friend from Texas. This is a great riff. He sets up his a discussion of his legislative measure to do what I just described, no transfer payments for illegal immigrants. And I think this is specifically illegal immigrants who are known criminals, in addition to having broken the law by being here illegally, in addition to. But anyway, the prototypical, this is the journey Brandon Gill describes, of the prototypical journey of the illegal immigrant gangbanger. So your Tren Aragua, your MS-13, your Maryland man. This is how he describes our approach to those individuals under the current, Rube Goldberg-esque immigration scheme we have set up.
Imagine a Tren Aragua gang member arrives at the southwest border illegally near the height of the Democrat Biden-Harris border crisis in 2023. He's traveled a long way, but of course he's got taxpayer-funded NGOs who have provided him assistance throughout his entire journey. He's one of hundreds of thousands of illegal aliens encountered at the U.S. southwest border that month, and more than 2 million that year alone. Because Border Patrol is overwhelmed, he's released into the interior of the country with a notice to appear in immigration court. To remain in the country and get a work permit, he'll file a bare-bones application for asylum that everybody knows is frivolous and stands no chance of success. Another taxpayer-funded NGO in the U.S. told him to do that, and he files his asylum application anyways. Because the immigration court backlog is nearly 4 million cases, it'll be years before his flimsy case is heard by an immigration judge. In the meantime, he'll move to New York or Chicago or San Francisco, be given taxpayer-funded benefits, be arrested for one crime or another, be coddled by sanctuary city leaders, and defended by Democrats who say America's long-standing immigration laws are simply too mean. Yet he'll remain in the immigration court backlog for years, filing continuance after continuance and motion after motion to delay his eventual removal from the United States. Years later, an immigration judge inevitably denies his frivolous asylum claim. The illegal alien gang member will appeal to the Board of Immigration Appeals, which will then take months, if not years, to reach a decision on his case. Once the Board of Immigration Appeals affirms the immigration judge's obvious decision, the illegal alien gang member will again appeal, this time to a federal court of appeals, which will take even more months, if not years, to deny his appeal. That's the process for one hypothetical illegal alien gang member allowed into the United States.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? This is why you have to employ things like safe third country. This is why you can't free release people into the country, even if they have on its face a credible asylum application. There has to be a process by which people are formally introduced into the country under a specific designation on an individualized basis. And laying it out the way that Brandon Gill did, I think is persuasive because it's reflective of the lunacy with which we approach immigration in this country. At least the previous administration did, and that party would continue to do so were they able to. They're certainly doing what they can at the state level. And again, this is what you're dealing with at the local level, just in terms of the activists that are, energized by the agitprop of a Pramila Jayapal, or a JB and a BJ. This in New Orleans, this is perfect. This is perfect. Where, the intersection of arrogance, ignorance, misplaced moral rectitude. ICE is conducting operations in New Orleans, as I mentioned. And some parts of New Orleans, outside of the city proper, they're actually, like in Kenner, Louisiana, they're actually getting support from local law enforcement. But, of course, they're being tracked just like they were tracked by these shiftless, do-nothing professional agitators funded by some of those NGOs that Brandon Gill was talking about, to be sure. So in New Orleans, these professional agitators come upon some law enforcement officers they believe to be ICE. This is how that went.
Hey. With ICE. Cool.
We know you are.
Cool.
So ICE, Border Patrol, Louisiana.
Internet crimes against children. We hunt online predators. Oh, yeah, cool.
I don't really buy that. No, thanks.
Yeah.
Online predators with all of you in tinted windows?
We don't respect whatever you do. Well, we hunt child predators. So.
Right.
We don't believe you.
Yeah, that's
Not at Bromart at noon on a Wednesday.
in tinted
Friday.
windows.
You'll see the article tomorrow. Okay, cool.
You'll see it too.
Bye.
Yeah, I've got both ways.
Stupid people.
That's a new one, woman. That's a new one.
Full face on the internet. That's embarrassing. You're embarrassed of your job.
We don't respect you regardless of what you do, and we don't believe you're not ICE. Louisiana Attorney General Liz Murrill later confirmed the agents to be members of the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. The agents were in the area to arrest a man on 120 counts of possession of child sexual abuse material involving children under the age of 13. Oh, and by the way, the child predator in question is a Chinese national who had been on the U.S. on an academic visa since 2021. Isn't it fun? It's not fun, actually, to deal with people like that. And unfortunately, they dominate urban centers, which is why you're seeing those urban centers disintegrate. Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is a full-blown 4-alarm holiday emergency here.
On AM 560.
We're going to have the happiest Christmas since Bing Crosby tap danced with Danny Kaye.
The Answer.
Dan Proft here to tell you about an opportunity for you to promote your business and to make a difference this Christmas season. I'm talking about our Food for the Poor Business Benefactor Program. We've partnered with Food for the Poor to provide life-saving food and water for thousands of children and their families in Latin America and the Caribbean. Your business can be a part of this effort. Become a Food for the Poor business benefactor by making a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor. That donation will help more than 30 children for an entire year. And when you do that, AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air here on AM 560 The Answer between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to you. To take advantage of this deal, just call John Gallagher at 847-472-8950. Again, that's 847-472-8950. One more time, the number, 847-472-8950. Or go to 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor. That website again, 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor.
AM 560. The Answer.
Coming up at 6:36, we'll talk to former FBI'er James Gagliano about maybe the announcement of a new deputy director today. President Trump is making an address at 1 o'clock. Not sure what the topic is. Maybe Andrew Bailey, the former Missouri Attorney General, to replace Bongino. Perhaps something else. Perhaps a combination of things. And, of course, we'll discuss the FBI's role in the Brown University and now MIT professor, the shooting deaths of students and that MIT professor, and how the federal and local law enforcement have performed so far. Jim Gagliano, 6:36. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 17 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. The Chicago City Council is set to vote on a budget tomorrow. According to reports, the council is voting on the so-called alternative budget plan, which was presented by several alders who oppose the budget proposed by Mayor Brandon Johnson. Should tomorrow's vote pass, the city will avoid a shutdown of services. The deadline to pass the city budget and avoid a government shutdown is December 30th. Expect to see more security on CTA bus and train stations starting today. Dozens more police and private security officers will begin patrolling as part of the new Volunteer Special Employment Program. The new program's goal is to increase the number of security officers and personnel, which will increase safety. Governor J.B. Pritzker and Mayor Brandon Johnson say the Safety Enhancement Program was already being implemented before the Federal Transportation Administration issued a demand for a detailed plan to better protect riders and personnel or risk losing federal dollars. This report is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again, not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Mike Gallagher questions the other side of the aisle.
We got Democrats now lining up in support of Luigi Mangione. We got Democrats who are supporting narco-terrorists. We got Democrats who support open borders and are against the enforcement of our immigration laws. I want to get along with Democrats. I don't know how I get along with people who support cold-blooded killers and narco-terrorists.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9 on AM 560. The Answer.
This past year has been one of the hardest in MyPillow's history. It's because of you that they are making it through. They want to thank you for your continued support by passing on some Christmas specials to our listeners. Get the Children's Bible Story Pillow 5-pack for $29.98. My Slippers with a free bottle of leather protectant spray for $39.98. Blankets, comforters, and duvets for as low as $25, and a blowout sale on the standard MyPillows for just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY to take advantage of these wholesale prices, including the standard size MyPillow, originally $49.98, now only $14.98. Queens $18.99. Kings only $1 more. 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. We know MyPillow products come with a 10-year warranty, but MyPillow has just announced that they are extending their 60-day money-back guarantee. That's right. Orders placed between now and December 25th will have their 60-day money-back guarantee extended through March 1st, 2026. Promo code LIBERTY.
Welcome back to Ask Hassleus. I'm Weston. What's your question?
What's the secret to your success?
Clean living, hard work, and no employees.
You lost me on that last one.
No employees?
Yeah.
That's the secret sizzle that makes Hassleus Mattress so popular.
How are you successful without employees?
You can give our mattresses a try with no pushy sales guy.
Nobody talking down to me or breathing down my neck?
And with no commission-crazed salespeople in the mix, our everyday mattress prices on Beautyrest, Sealy Posturepedic, and more are way low.
How low?
Our Queen Beautyrest Elm Cove A is just $7.94.
Wow.
Plus, free next-day delivery. And through Monday, get a free box spring or $300 off an adjustable base with the purchase of any Queen or King size Beautyrest or Sealy Posturepedic mattress.
Since you're a mattress store, you could say Hassleus is an overnight success.
Good one.
Thanks.
Open 9 to 9. Find an employee-free showroom near you or shop online at Hassleus.com.
Dan Proft here to tell you about our 2025 Food for the Poor campaign. If you've listened to this station and to our show for any length of time, then you already know about Food for the Poor. They are a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean. We all know about how bad the situation is in Latin America and the Caribbean right now. Economic decline, political instability and corruption, and high food prices. The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor and their partners who are providing life-saving food relief on the ground. But in order to get food and water to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your gift of just $150 can provide food and water for 2 children for an entire year. For a gift of $300, you can provide food and water for 4 children for an entire year. To make a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673. Or visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor.
Check off the wish list with instant savings and free battery offers on select steel tools. Shop online or in store.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. We're slow on the inbound Eisenhower with an accident just past First Avenue, and it takes out the left lane, so it's 19 minutes from Wolf to the old post office. Outbound is 13. Looking good in both directions on the Eden. Inbound is 15 minutes from Lake Hook to Montrose. Outbound is 14. The Kennedy inbound, not too bad at all. From O'Hare to the Byrne Interchange, 18 minutes. Outbound is 22. It's 16 minutes in both directions on the Stevenson from the Tri-State to Lakeshore. The Dan Ryan from 95th to the Byrne Interchange is 15 minutes. Outbound is 11. The express lanes inbound slow down between 31st Street and the Stevenson. This report is a service of Supershore. Do you own a small business? You need to hear this. A seismic shift is coming. It's time to get Supershore. Not kind of sure, not pretty sure, not a little sure, but Supershore. The seismic shift is coming. Supershore, coming soon. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be breezy and significantly colder as clouds give way to some sunshine with a high of 25. Tonight will remain rather cloudy and breezy, but not as cold later on with a low of 23. Temperatures will rise into the mid-30s. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. We'll talk a little bit about guns against the backdrop of the Bondi Beach massacre, as well as, of course, the students that were killed and injured at Brown University, as well as that MIT professor that was murdered. And we now know those two acts of violence are connected. I want to talk about guns. The Prime Minister of Australia, Anthony Albanese, predictably, he telegraphed it, had this announcement yesterday.
We expect hundreds of thousands of firearms will be collected and destroyed through this scheme. Consistent with the approach that was taken in 1996, the government is proposing that states and territories will be responsible for the collection, processing and payment to individuals for surrendered firearms. The Australian Federal Police will then be responsible for the destruction of these firearms.
Another mandatory buyback program like they did after the Port Arthur massacre in Tasmania 30 years ago. Because it worked, except they're doing it again 30 years later. Okay. Of course, they don't have a Second Amendment, and they don't have the Supreme Court jurisprudence that codifies the Second Amendment as an individual right of self-protection that we have. But we have politicians here that have proposed mandatory gun buybacks before. In Illinois, we have the brain trust of the neo-Marxist party in D.C. running around in a knee-jerk fashion, talking about the need for common sense gun control laws, whatever form those might take. You heard from Schumer, you heard from Jayapal, you've heard from a bunch of them this week after the mass shooting at Brown University. So there's some new research from our friend John Lott at the Crime Prevention Research Center. It's sort of interesting. Looking at the issue of civilians with right-to-carry permits interceding to stop crime. Good guy with a gun versus bad guy with a gun. We used ChatGPT and Grok to help put together a list of cases over the last decade where concealed carry permit holders accidentally shot an innocent bystander. Found 4 cases from 2016 through almost all of 2025. And John Lott writes, if people have other cases, please send them our way. Over a decade from 2016 to 2025, including there was a security guard case, which may not really fit the category, but they're going to include it. There are 5 bystanders shot and 2 killed and 3 wounded. Excluding the security guard, 4 people shot, 2 killed, 2 wounded. We did a similar comparison to police over the same years, 2016 to 2025. And there were 20 cases where a total of 28 bystanders were accidentally shot, with 7 killed and 21 wounded. In one case, an officer wounded 6 people. In another case, 3 officers wounded 3 people. So the police accidentally wounded 5.6 times as many bystanders as the civilians during that nearly decade time period, including a security guard wounded in a decade, and 3 times the number killed and 7 times the number wounded. Police accidentally did that at an exponentially higher rate than civilians. They also looked at FBI active shooting cases. Individuals actively attempting to kill people in a populated or confined area, excluding shootings stemming from other crimes, robbery, or gangs. The Crime Prevention Research Center has worked with the Peace Officers Research Association of California and the California Association of Highway Patrolmen on an amicus brief for the Supreme Court. This data, this research, was included in that amicus brief, which details how responsible concealed carry permit holders are. And oh, by the way, just as a point of order, there are 21 million Americans with a right to carry permit, concealed carry permit. From 2014 to 2024, per the Crime Prevention Research's study, using the FBI's active shooter definition, armed civilians stopped 199 of 562 incidents, preventing 35% of the attacks, and rising to 52% in locations where carry was allowed. By contrast, police stopped 167 incidents, which was 30%. Overall, armed civilians have proven remarkably safe and effective. In the 199 civilian interventions, bystanders were accidentally shot only once, with 0 instances of interfering with police. Civilians were killed in just 2 cases and wounded in 49 cases, 24%, and in 58 incidents, 32%. They prevented 58 incidents, 32%, they prevented mass shootings. Uniformed police, despite superior training, faced greater risks and error rates in the 167 incidents they stopped. They shot bystanders accidentally or fellow officers 5 times, more than 5 times the civilian rate, suffered 19 officers killed, 11%, 11 times the civilian rate, and 51 wounded, 30%. In no active shooter incident did either group have their firearm taken by the attacker. While neither civilians nor police stop every attack, the data demonstrates the presence of armed civilians improves outcomes. You can go to crimeresearch.org to review the data that I was recounting yourself. But after such incidents, when you have politicians saying, and in the case of Australia, doing such things, you have to address this topic again. And so we're doing so. For more on this and other matters related to those violent incidents, James Gagliano joins us, retired FBI supervisory special agent and a doctoral candidate in Homeland Security at St. John's. He also served as mayor of Village of Cornwall-on-Hudson in New York. Jim, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Dan, nice job with the statistics there. Boy, you kind of laid out a roadmap. You make the counter argument pretty damn well with that.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things where, I think most law enforcement respects and even promotes the idea that individuals, who know how to use a gun and can get a concealed carry permit should do that, should be able to protect themselves. Sometimes you get the police chiefs, the executive level, where they have to play politics, who won't go that far. But I assume that's the case at the FBI, too. Generally speaking, you have sensible people that recognize that, boy, it would have been nice at Bondi Beach if that fruit stand owner would have had a gun, and maybe some other people, too, that knew how to use one to stop those shooters before they killed as many as they did.
Well, you laid out the Second Amendment protections we have here, and obviously the Supreme Court and the way they've continually ruled on this. And, Dan, we live in a country of 340 million people, and there are estimates that the amount of firearms in this country are between 340 million and 400 million. Man, the idea and the notion of buyback. I ran a Safe Streets Task Force, a federal Safe Streets Task Force for the FBI back in 2008 to 2013. I was overseeing the most dangerous city in New York, Newburgh, New York, which per capita had more homicides than New York City. And every year, the politicians like Chuck Schumer, our senator at the time, and who's currently still the minority leader in the Senate, would come out and say, we need more gun buyback programs. And the police departments would scramble, and this is what would happen. Two guys from one house would come in with like a musket that was rusted shut and was like from the 18th century. Yeah. Somebody else would come with a revolver that was missing a cylinder. Somebody else would come in with a pistol where the slide was missing, and they would get a $50 gift card to Hannaford's grocery store. It's a wonderful idea in theory, but the bad guys aren't going to do it. So therein lies the rub.
Yeah, precisely. We've seen the same thing in Chicago. It's absolutely silly, but it's the appearance of doing something versus doing something that's substantively important, which politicians are good at and they get away with in places like New York and Chicago, unfortunately. The job that the combination of federal and state and local law enforcement did, let's talk about Brown University. This is really not so much about the FBI, except that the FBI was working in concert with local, right? They were the ones that initially detained that young man in suburban Milwaukee that was a person of interest until it was clear that he was not the shooter. But I'm sure you watched the press conferences. What was your impression of the job that, say, the mayor and the police chief and the attorney general and the university president did in managing this case over the last week?
Well, I weighed in on this pretty heavily last night in prime time on television, Dan, and watching each of the press conferences, and I didn't miss a second of any of them, and I listened to every reporter question and every response and every pronouncement from the local officials and the state officials. Dan, I was wholly embarrassed by the messaging. I'm not going to criticize the Providence, Rhode Island Police Department. They've got about 500 members. I thought their chief was in over his head. I thought the attorney general loved an opportunity to get out in front of the camera.
Yeah, you think?
Much more than he needed to. Yeah. And the fact that the mayor, again, put out some inaccurate information. And look, the FBI isn't above all this. We make mistakes too. And I think one of the reasons you didn't see the FBI out front where they should have been on this was because the Tyler Robinson, Charlie Kirk assassination, prematurely releasing information about having a suspect in custody. And then in this instance, did the same thing with the person of interest. Now, I will quibble with what they put out and what the truth is. That wasn't an investigative detention of the young man at the hotel. That was a custodial interrogation, which is tantamount to an arrest because they held him there until they could run ballistics on the pistols that he had on him and determine that he was not the person. Dan, last night.
Well, yeah, and wait, sorry to interrupt, but that's an important point because they kept going back and forth at the press conference. Remember, the attorney general whispered into the ear of the police chief and said, don't say custodial, say detention, or you said the wrong word, and they kept going back and forth in terms of what that was.
Yeah, so the difference for your listeners, real quick, a little inside baseball. You are allowed to. The Supreme Court ruled in Terry versus Ohio in 1963. You are allowed to make a brief investigative detention of someone if you fear that they have committed a crime, are in the process of committing a crime, or will commit a crime. How do you define brief detention? Well, the difference is the suspect or the subject could be allowed to walk away and say, I'm not staying. In this instance, they went to this quote-unquote person of interest. They didn't have probable cause. They had reasonable suspicion, which is fine. But they held him for a number of hours. That is an arrest. Whether you call it that or not, that is an arrest. And then to lead into the area where a lot of resources were focused there, I get it. In the early stages of an investigation like this, that can happen, and you chase the leads down rabbit holes. But then here's the critical piece that infuriates me. This happened, the Brown shooting, where two young students were basically executed in a study hall, and 8 others are fighting for their lives right now. That happened at 4 o'clock on Saturday. 2 days later, on Monday night at 8:30 p.m., about an hour away in Cambridge, Massachusetts, the MIT professor was executed in his home. 2 days there, a little over 48 hours. Why in the hell were there no security cameras on Brown University that were active and rolling? And I'll tell you why. James Garrity wrote a brilliant op-ed in the Washington Post last week. In 2021, a Brown University doctoral candidate complained about the surveillance state at Brown. He wrote a column for their local campus newspaper, and in the column, he pointed out that there were 800 security cameras on Brown's campus. Brown's campus is a quarter square mile by a quarter square mile. Dan, it's like a city block. It's a postage stamp. And for there to have been no video of this suspect moving in and out and doing what he did, that held the investigation up. And God forbid, if we'd have had that and gotten the lead sooner, maybe the MIT professor wouldn't have had to die too.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. And of course, I've heard anywhere between 800 and 1,200 cameras. And you don't get an answer from Christina Paxson, the president. You just basically get it wasn't material. It wouldn't have stopped the shooting, or it wouldn't have changed the outcome. That's what she said. But you're right. It could have changed the outcome for that MIT professor, because you would have had a beat on this guy faster. The other thing is, how is it there was somewhere between 50 and 60 people in that classroom when the shooting started? How is it that you have, say, 45 to 50 people that were able to escape uninjured, and nobody knows if or what the shooter said before he opened fire? And then this other piece yesterday, that the interaction he had with that other individual near the hall where the mass shooting occurred, the police were interested in finding that individual, and they ultimately found him, and were told by a local media there that the individual is a 2010 Brown grad who is some sort of physics genius, but is homeless, and he either lives in that hall where the shooting occurred or near it. And that was the guy who interacted with the shooter when the shooter retreated for a time period, a couple of hours apparently, before he came back and committed the atrocity. And there's just no accounting for any of that.
Yeah, that is bizarre. And again, if I'm going to make criticisms of this, the criticism should be squarely aimed at Brown, because it's a PC, politically correct campus, and people carping about the surveillance state, that caused this case not to be solved sooner. That's one piece. The second piece is the second person of interest that the police crowdsourced, and he came forward to the cops and said, hey, that's me, and no, I wasn't involved, and this is what I saw. That is what we ask of every citizen in this country. If you see something, say something. This individual did that and was really part of the margin of victory in solving this case and getting this guy so quickly. Look, the guy's a piece of garbage that did this. He's a coward who took his own life rather than face justice here. It's a horrible, horrible story. But again, in all of these incidents, these mass shootings, these terror attacks, there are lessons learned that we often don't put into practice for the next one. The police that didn't go to the sound of the guns at Parkland, not locking doors during the Uvalde shooting in Texas. And what are we going to learn about Brown having inoperable cameras, and a guy was able to get onto campus and leave campus and no one saw him? We picked him up on Ring doorbell video out in the suburbs.
Jim Gagliano, retired FBI supervisory special agent and a doctoral candidate in Homeland Security at St. John's. He also served as mayor of Village of Cornwall-on-Hudson, New York. James, thank you as always for joining us. Merry Christmas. Appreciate it.
Dan, same to you and your family. Merry Christmas, and all the best to your listeners.
Thank you, sir. Jim Gagliano joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line. Coming up at 7:07, we'll turn our attention to hopefully something more beautiful and inspired. We've had to deal with so much ugliness this week, as we were just discussing. Chris Arnade, writer and photographer, is currently taking a walk around the world. He's the author of Dignity, seeking respect in Back Row America, you remember. He made his mark with that. We'll find out what Chris Arnade has been up to, what he's seen, and his reflections on all of that at 7:07. It is now 7 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
This is a Fox News alert. The search for the gunman in 2 murders in 2 states is over. I'm Dave Anthony. The suspected Brown University shooter found dead. Also now implicated in a murder in Massachusetts. Why?
We don't know yet. That's something that everybody's going to be now focused on over the coming days.
That's what Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche just told Fox.
The multi-state manhunt ended here in Salem, New Hampshire last night. Authorities say that the shooter drove here after murdering 2 students at Brown University and injuring 9 students. After that, murdering an MIT professor with whom he shares a personal history.
That's Fox's Nate Foy. So how did they finally identify Claudio Neves Valente, who was only a person of interest in the Brown shooting seen in videos? A tip from a second person police had been trying to ID.
Police credit an anonymous tipster saying that he had seen the shooter in the area just a couple hours before the shooting. His name is John, a homeless man and former Brown University student who 2 hours before the shooting locked eyes with the gunman in the bathroom in the basement area across from the classroom where the shooting took place.
That's Fox's Brian Yennis in Providence, and says that John had followed Valente, thinking he was suspicious, to a car that ended up key to tracking him down. Valente came to the U.S. in 2017 in a green card lottery program.
In the wake of the shootings, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem has now paused that visa program in which the individual was able to enter the United States.
Fox's Chanley Painter. Back to Deputy A.G. Blanche. This is deadline day for the Justice Department, mandated by Congress to turn over more files from the investigation into Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking of underage girls.
I expect that we're going to release several 100,000 documents today.
Federal investigators are in North Carolina combing through the charred wreckage of yesterday's plane crash in Statesville that killed retired NASCAR driver Greg Biffle, his wife and 2 kids, and 3 other people trying to figure out what caused the fiery crash. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It is 16 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. The man accused of lighting a woman on fire on a Chicago train has been formally indicted by a federal grand jury. Fox's Jessica Rosenthal has more.
The grand jury indictment says they believe Lawrence Reed knowingly used gasoline and a lighter to set fire to someone on Chicago's Blue Line train in November with the intent to cause someone bodily harm or death on a mass transportation vehicle. They also charged him with trying to set fire to Chicago City Hall a few days before that. On the Blue Line train, 26-year-old Bethany McGee was left in critical condition with severe burns all over her body and face. At the time of the incident, Reed had been let out of custody on pretrial release after being charged with battery for knocking a psychiatric hospital employee unconscious in Cook County. Reed's record includes over 70 arrests. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
The Food and Drug Administration is warning consumers that several stores are still selling baby formula, included in a nationwide recall due to botulism. The FDA has sent warning letters to major retailers, including Target, Walmart, and Kroger, warning them to take action immediately to remove the tainted product from their shelves. For a complete list of the recalled product, you can head to FDA.gov. There's some good news if you're planning on driving over the holidays. The U.S. Energy Information Administration says the average price of gas in the U.S. is $2.90 a gallon. However, across the Midwest, that number is slightly lower at $2.69 a gallon. Here in Chicago, of course, prices are a bit higher than the national average, with an average cost of $3.08 for a gallon of gas. This news update is quickly delivered to you by Quick Delivery Service. Why are you sitting in Friday traffic? Time is money. When you need your important items delivered quickly, Quick Delivery Service will be there to pick it up and take it to its destination. Go to quickdelivery.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Would you like to have your mortgage or rent paid for all of 2026? That sounds like a Christmas miracle, doesn't it?
This is what Christmas is all about.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what AM 560 The Answer wants to do for you. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle to enter our Christmas Mortgage Miracle Contest. Enter once per day, every day, between now and December 20th. You can have your rent or mortgage paid for all of next year.
It's a Christmas miracle.
Nice. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle.
Dan Proft here to tell you about our 2025 Food for the Poor campaign. If you've listened to this station and to our show for any length of time, then you already know about Food for the Poor. They are a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean. We all know about how bad the situation is in Latin America and the Caribbean right now. Economic decline, political instability and corruption, and high food prices. The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor and their partners who are providing life-saving food relief on the ground. But in order to get food and water to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your gift of just $150 can provide food and water for 2 children for an entire year. For a gift of $300, you can provide food and water for 4 children for an entire year. To make a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673. Or visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor.
Hey, I'm Mike Slater. My dad passed away at the age of 63. It's out of nowhere. Had a stroke. Super hard, obviously, for the whole family, but my dad had life insurance. This is why I have life insurance for my family, for my wife and 4 kids. And the best place to get life insurance is ethos.com, because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no medical exam and no blood test, just a few health questions. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, ETHOS, ethos.com/Mike.
You ever wonder why Verizon charges twice as much as Pure Talk for the same basic service? Think it might have something to do with the fact that Verizon spends $12 billion a year on advertising and promotion. That's billion with a B. Yeah, Pure Talk doesn't spend that kind of money on commercials. That's why they can offer unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data on a blazing fast 5G network for just $25 a month. Save an additional 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say the words Micro. That's pound 250. Micro.
This message is for anyone looking for $500,000 to $1 million or more of affordable term life insurance, even if you have diabetes, high blood pressure, or taking anxiety meds. Here's an example. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe overweight with type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term life insurance may only cost about $200 a month. We're Term Provider, experts in finding affordable term life insurance for those that may not be in perfect health. If you've had prostate cancer, heart conditions, high cholesterol, or on prescription medications, you may still qualify for $500,000 to $1 million or more of affordable term life insurance. Get a quick quote by calling Term Provider at 800-555-2085. 800-555-2085. If you're looking for term life insurance but have type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, or have other health issues, call Term Provider at 800-555-2085 or visit termprovider.com. Termprovider.com.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Stop and go on the northbound tri-state between the 57 and 127th Street because of a collision that has just been moved to the shoulder. We're also stop and go on the Reagan Memorial, eastbound between Roosevelt Road and the tri-state. The Bishop Ford slows down northbound between 111th Street and the Dan Ryan. The inbound Dan Ryan from 95th to the Byrne interchange is 25 minutes, outbound is 13. The Stevenson, that slows down from the tri-state to Lakeshore, 22 minutes, outbound is 17. We're slow on the Eisenhower inbound from Walt to the old post office, 29 minutes, outbound is 18. The Kennedy is 28 minutes inbound from O'Hare to the Byrne interchange, outbound is 27. This traffic update is a service of Quick Delivery Service. When you need same-day delivery, when you need the fastest service, when you need a last-minute delivery, go to quickdelivery.com and get a quote right now. That's quickdelivery.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be breezy and significantly colder as clouds give way to some sunshine with a high of 25. Tonight will remain rather cloudy and breezy, but not as cold later on with a low of 23. Temperatures will rise into the mid-30s. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer
Merry Christmas.
on AM 560.
Ho, ho, ho.
The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here, and pleased to be joined again by Chris Arnott. He is a photojournalist, writer, photographer, currently taking a walk around the world, and that's actually the title of his Substack. Chris Arnade Walks the World. Hopefully, I mean, and by the way, I mentioned this before the news, but I'll mention it again, because if you haven't picked it up, you should. He's the author of Dignity, Seeking Respect in Back Row America. That's sort of where he first made his mark, at least came to my attention, with his back row versus front row America formulation, and the work he put into traveling the country and talking to people and trying to get to the crux of some of the anxieties that people have, particularly those on the lower rungs of the economic ladder. And he continues to do that. A rather provocative piece he posted earlier this month that I want to discuss in part because, you know, we look to Chris to find some inspiration amid so many examples of barbarism. Why are Americans unhappy? He has some thoughts on that question. He joins us now. Chris, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so it's been a tough week, as you know, across the world. And so from your travels, give us something that is hopeful, that redeems humanity in our minds, please.
Well, I just had the Grinch meal at McDonald's, and that's a pretty good deal. You get 2 nice socks in it. You haven't had it.
There you go. I appreciate the gratitude for the little things. Very good. Thank you.
Although it's much more expensive than it used to be, so, you know.
Yeah. The politicians are working on that, I understand. But anyway, you talk, that's why are Americans unhappy? And of course, the focus is predominantly about economic well-being, economic security. But you suggest that that's not really the thrust of the issue.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I know nobody wants to hear it because people have a lot of justified anger out there, but we're the wealthiest country ever. Like, it's not even close, I mean, we live, at least in terms of material life, we have it really good. We have a lot of stuff. We have more stuff than we've ever had. And, that may not be the route to happiness, though. That's kind of the point of my piece is you can have a lot of stuff, but if you don't feel like you're kind of have a lot of friends, or you don't have a big community, or you don't have a point in life, it can feel kind of depressing. But also, there's also, there's a real problem where we kind of emphasize in the United States the American dream, this idea that if you work hard enough and play by the rules, you can have a nice home, 2-car garage, and your kids are going to do better than you, and you'll keep kind of going up the ladder. Hustle, you get paid off. But there's a problem, which is, I think when you see, especially the kind of what I call the aspirational lower class, people who are kind of 40,000 to 50,000, 60,000, 70,000 a year, you kind of start flatlining because you can't really reach escape velocity because of all you kind of opt out. You kind of get too rich for government help, but and not rich enough to be able to make it on your own. We give so much help to the poor, but you kind of, after a certain point, you age out. You weld out of that level, and then you're on your own, and the government starts taking more and giving to others. So you might live on your block, and you realize don't work nearly as hard as you do, and that can be frustrating.
So, but I mean, you have, according to recent polling, you have about 60% of the country that thinks the country's on the wrong track, and it mostly has to do that. The predominant issue is economic security. Well, certainly 60% of the people are not on the bottom rung. So there has to be some other dynamic in addition to not feeling like you're economically stable, right? Like, sort of the proverbial paycheck to paycheck or one paycheck away from losing my house and my car, things like that. I'm just keeping my head above water, and that creates a lot of anxiety. Completely understand that. But there has to also be this category of people who are a little bit more economically stable, but nonetheless unhappy. And I wonder if that is sort of what you were intimating. It's a little bit of the keeping up with the Joneses and the taking the original American dream and supersizing it as you go along and get increasingly, stable, and you do reach escape velocity, but you don't have as much as you think you deserve, or you don't have as much as the guy down the street. And it's just the sort of the craven, envious nature of humanity.
I think there's certainly that. We always kind of judge ourselves relative to others, and so in a system in which we are to some degrees a meritocracy, a system in which you always feel like you're not keeping up with the Joneses as it is. That can feel it can feel kind of humiliating or depressing a little bit. But I'm 60 years old, and I can tell you, in terms of material life, it's much better now. I mean, it's more in terms of just the amount of stuff we have.
Yeah.
But it's not as personal as it used to be. It's not as there's a lot of dehumanization in the whole system. We just don't talk to people as much. We don't have as much sense of community. The neighborhoods feel very kind of broken in the sense that I used to know all my neighbors. I used to get together with all my neighbors. I mean, I think there was a sense that we all knew what was the point of life, at least why I'm an American, or I'm from Chicago's South Side. There was a sense of kind of pride in something other than how much stuff you have. And it's hard to find that now. There's just less kind of the life feels a lot more impersonal, a little bit more soul than it used to.
Yeah, I mean, there's some sort of extreme examples of this too. We've talked about it on this show quite a bit, where you hear politicians all the time talking about community. But then when you really get down to it, you see that the operating ethos of the system is not I'm my brother's keeper, but every man for himself. Whether it's economic rent-seeking behavior, we know this in Chicago and Illinois quite well. I want to get in line for the special deal, for the carve-out, for the exemption. But it also goes to things like this terrible incident that happened on the CTA here. The young lady that was attacked on the Blue Line, minding her own business, attacked on the Blue Line and set on fire, and no one came to her aid. Not when this guy was essentially walking her down and lighting himself on fire when he was getting ready to light her on fire. Nobody intercedes. Nobody interceded until until the train stopped and she was able to get off of the train and roll around. And then a couple of bystanders came and helped put the fire out. I mean, just a horrific crime. But that innocent bystander mentality where we don't come to other people's aid, that's an extreme example, but I mean that more generally.
I think so. O'Hare, correct?
What's that? You broke up.
The
I'm
Blue
sorry.
Line, the Blue Line goes from O'Hare. I mean,
Yeah.
I've taken that multiple times, recently, and I can tell you, it's a rolling homeless shelter.
Yeah.
And it's not a good feeling, The kind of decay in the quality of kind of like public trust and public good. That's a real thing. That's a real sense of somebody. Nobody has your back, and it's even worse if you feel like the police are not helping you. They're actually out to help the criminals. And so the whole system feels very much like. Do you want to be the person to stand up on the subway and try to deal with a crazed guy? I mean, it's a lose-lose,
Do you have perspective? I mean, as I mentioned, you've been doing this for close to a decade now, haven't you?
Yeah, that's correct.
So, thinking about the past decade and the trajectory of things. Is the problems that you saw in 2016, let's say, the same as they are today? Have some improved and others deteriorated? What's your sort of perspective on, the condition of America, if you will?
I mean, if you kind of go to the bad neighborhoods, that's where I spend most of my time. It's kind of gotten out of control. I mean, there used to be a little bit more, there used to be some sense of some shame people had some sense of shame. But now in many ways, just anything goes. It's not entirely, it's not anarchy, but it's not that far from it. The drug legalization, the kind of lack of the feeling that there's no consequences for actions. That's gotten worse. People respond to incentives, and if the incentives are like, we'll keep on just slapping you on the wrist and letting you go for doing dumb things or bad things, people are going to learn from that, especially the worst people. And that's the problem is, I want to emphasize that when you go into bad neighborhoods, the vast majority of people are decent people, but they're being terrorized by the 5% to 7% who aren't. And so, they kind of go into lockdown mode. They don't want to go out. They don't want to go into the neighborhood because the thugs are taking over. And so you get this little problem where you can't let this really, really, violent minority in a neighborhood take over. And we've kind of let them do that in many of the big cities.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly right. You write about how, in your view, the American dream archetype has changed significantly in the last 60 years. Describe what you think has changed.
I think, there was a very simple model, which was, one member of the family worked and the other stayed home and took care of the house. It was kind of a division of labor, and it largely broke down around gender lines almost always. The man made the money and the woman kind of took care of the house. So we've shifted to kind of everybody should be making the money. And that's a big shift, and that's how our policy has to be kept up with that, because when you talk to people who kind of are working as hard as they can, both parents, the real question is child care. I can't both be, we can't have both of us work, and then who's going to take care of the kids? Now, and sometimes it's the grandparents, but sometimes those aren't around anymore because they're very much more transient. So child care just hasn't kept this idea that everybody should pursue the American dream individually, not just as a couple. That's changed. That's changed very much.
Chris Arnade is a writer and photographer, currently taking a walk around the world, as he has been for the better part of the last decade. I understand from your Substack, are you walking New Jersey right now?
I just finished walking New Jersey.
Oh, you did?
I'm back home. Yeah,
okay.
I'm upstate New York. I'm going to watch the Packers Bear game Saturday night, like all your listeners. So.
And who will you be rooting for is the question.
Packers, sorry guys.
Yeah, all right. Well, you just lost some fans. No, I'm kidding. Now, you deserve to take the holidays off. You've been doing enough. Chris Arnade is also the author of Dignity, Seeking Respect in Back Row America, which we've largely been talking about, and he's been talking about for the past decade. Chris, thanks as always for joining us. Merry Christmas. Appreciate it.
Merry Christmas to you as well.
And Chris joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hallelujah! Holy
On AM 560.
Where's the Tylenol?
The Answer.
So Pure Talk just had their best year ever and asked me if I'd like to thank their customers on their behalf for being so awesome. I said sure. It's important to say thanks, especially this time of year, which is why, as one of their many satisfied customers, I should probably thank Pure Talk first for keeping their customer service in this country and for providing hundreds of American jobs. I appreciate that. I also appreciate their Roundup program, which makes it easy to support America's Warrior Partnership and join the fight against veteran suicide. And I love that Pure Talk donated 1,000 hand-sewn Made in America flags to veterans around Independence Day. And of course, I really appreciate their generous support of my own foundation, MicroWorks, and their commitment to help us train the next generation of skilled workers. Having said all that, it's now my pleasure, on behalf of everyone at Pure Talk, to thank you sincerely for choosing to do business with an American wireless company that actually stands for something. And one more thing. Merry Christmas.
Dan Proft here to tell you about our 2025 Food for the Poor campaign. If you've listened to this station and to our show for any length of time, then you already know about Food for the Poor. They are a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean. We all know about how bad the situation is in Latin America and the Caribbean right now. Economic decline, political instability and corruption, and high food prices. The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor and their partners who are providing life-saving food relief on the ground. But in order to get food and water to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your gift of just $150 can provide food and water for 2 children for an entire year. For a gift of $300, you can provide food and water for 4 children for an entire year. To make a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673. Or visit 560theanswer.com/food for the poor.
I'm meeting with the SEC to register Penny Mustard's Spencer bedroom as a security.
What?
How do we build the Spencer bedroom?
Solid wood construction. Forever type bed brackets.
And drawer bottoms strong enough to stand on. How long will it last?
For generations.
Furniture that lasts for generations is worth
more money in the future.
Now that's security.
The Spencer bedroom. American made with queen bed, dresser, mirror, and nightstand. Starting at $62.22 at Penny Mustard. 6 Chicagoland showrooms. PennyMustard.com.
I'm Rob Cole, owner of Cole Digital in Frankfort, the finished basement experts. Our CAD design team will craft a one-of-a-kind plan with a custom bar or kitchenette, a wine cellar, fitness room with a glass entry, and one of our signature home theaters or media rooms. With a Sony laser projector, 120-inch screen, and Dolby Digital surround sound. Or a video wall so you can watch 5 games at once. Acoustic treatment and architectural lighting complete the look. Tour our Cole Digital Smart Living Design Center, the largest in America, 15,000 square feet, 5 themed theaters, 5 gourmet kitchens, and 30 rooms of audio-video, lighting, smart home technology, and great design ideas. We're a conservative-owned local company that also gives back to our community. Visit us at coledigital.com. That's K-O-L-E, digital.com. Or call us at 815-469-2000, and we'll bring the showroom to you. Cole Digital, what smart living is all about.
Think your IT systems couldn't get any better? Prove it. Take the Access One $10,000 challenge. For companies with 25 to 500 employees, we'll conduct a free, confidential risk assessment based on NIST or CIS regulations. If your systems and processes are 100% compliant and we can't find a single improvement opportunity based on the regulations, we'll write you a check for $10,000. For over 30 years, Access One has helped Chicagoland businesses strengthen cybersecurity, streamline IT operations, and reduce costs through managed IT and cloud solutions. Ready to take the challenge? Schedule your free confidential risk assessment. Visit accessoneInc.com/challenge or call 800-654-1555. Certain terms and conditions apply. See details online.
So right now may be the perfect time for you to rethink how you pay for health care. And here's why. This time of year is decision time for a lot of people, but it's also when you can join Medi-Share and save even more than usual. For many families, joining Medi-Share means saving about $500 a month, which is a game changer for a lot of people. More than 1 million people are now part of healthcare sharing because it just makes so much sense, especially right now. And Medi-Share is the gold standard. Members like it a lot. We know this from member surveys. Medi-Share has been around for over 30 years. It is a proven thing. And if you join before December 31st and you mention the promo code SHARE, they'll waive your application fee, so you save $100 right off the bat. I'll give you the number here in a second, but just call. You'll get a price within 2 minutes. And again, the deadline is December 31st, so call now. You'll save even more. Here's the number. Call 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE. 833-34-BIBLE.
Hey, you want to give the gift they'll actually use this holiday? Peace of mind? Give the people in your life something that will protect them. Go to BYRNA.com today. They are the world leader in less lethal personal defense. It's compact, it's concealable, it's powerful. The newest burner compact fits in a pocket, a purse, while delivering real stopping power for up to 60 feet away. I carry one every day. I recommend every family have a burner, every person have one. Now, it fires potent, kinetic, and aerosol rounds that can stop any attacker in their tracks for up to 40 minutes. It's legal in all 50 states. You don't need a background check. It ships right to your door. Byrna gives both the gift giver and the recipient peace of mind, not just for the holidays, but all year round and for many years to come. Protect your loved ones. Safety is priceless. Visit byrna.com today and find the right launcher for you and your family. That's byrna.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
In our conversation with the peripatetic Chris Arnade, I brought up the horrific attack on the Blue Line, Bethany McGee being lit on fire. Well, Charles Beach, he is the newly minted chief judge in Cook County. He sat down with the I-team. Not much of an investigative interview, that's for sure. He revealed that Cook County currently has about 3,500 people on electronic monitoring. 500 under the sheriff and 3,000 under the chief judge. He'd like to outsource the whole deal to the state, at the state level, which would about double the number of individuals on electronic monitoring that state-level officials would be handling. 3,500 people on electronic monitoring. And here's what he had to say about the Blue Line attack, and more generally about judges that would let a habitual violent offender, like the person who lit Bethany McGee on fire, out on electronic monitoring. Time and again, instance after instance, people on pretrial release with a violent past victimizing additional people while on pretrial release. We've literally told this story hundreds of times over the last several years. And this is what Charles Beach has to say about it. The guy who said, I'm standing up a focused committee to urgently review electronic monitoring. It doesn't sound like he's very urgent here.
The judge is put in a very unique spot, right? They have to look at the accused and recognize that they're presumed innocent, recognize that they have due process rights, constitutional rights. The presumption is that they should be released because they are presumed innocent. The best thing I can do is this. We can educate them on the law. We can educate them on best practices. We can talk to them about their thought processes. But in the end, every judge has to come to that conclusion on their own. They're an independent individual making a decision, a very, very difficult decision. And as long as they stay within the bounds of the law, they're making the best decision they can with the facts and the circumstances in front of them. Nobody can predict what another human being is going to do. And that's where the job gets really, really hard.
Yeah, nobody can predict what another human being will do, even if they've done that same thing 50 or 60 times. Sure. Be willfully blind. More of the same. As long as you operate within the bounds of the Safety Act, which is the presumption of pretrial release, including of the violent and the mentally ill. Get ready for more incidents like the burning of Bethany McGee. That's what Charles Beach just said. But I understand he's more focused, as we brought you the story exclusively this week, he's more focused on proper pronoun usage, gender-neutral salutations in Cook County courts. Coming up at 7:37, we'll talk to Wesley Smith about MAID, medical assistance in dying. Euthanasia comes to Illinois thanks to Jelly Belly. It's coming to New York, too. We'll talk about the culture of death in places like Illinois and New York with Wesley Smith at 7:37. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 16 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. The Chicago City Council is set to vote on a budget tomorrow. According to reports, the council is set to vote on the so-called alternative budget plan, which was presented by several alders who opposed the budget that Mayor Brandon Johnson had laid out. Should tomorrow's vote pass, the city will avoid a shutdown of services. After yesterday's meeting, Johnson said he believed the two sides were close to agreeing, noting there were just a couple of issues to sort out. A federal jury has come to a split decision in the trial of Milwaukee Circuit Court Judge Hannah Dugan. The jury deliberated for 6 hours before finding Dugan guilty of obstructing federal agents at the courthouse earlier this year, but not guilty of helping an undocumented immigrant evade agents who were at the Milwaukee courthouse to arrest him. Chicago State University is set to have the only NCAA Division I football program in the city. The first ever Chicago State football game is slated for August 29th of next year. This report is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again, not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
This December could be one that you'll always remember if you enter the Roland's Jewelers 12 Days of Christmas contest. You could win a $200 gift card from Roland's Jewelers in Libertyville. We're drawing 12 winners throughout the month of December, and you could be one of them. Enter today at 560theanswer.com/gift. That's 560theanswer.com/gift.
When someone you love is living with memory loss, finding the right care isn't just important, it's everything. At Terra Vista of Oak Brook Terrace, memory care isn't an add-on, it's all we do.
When Mom moved into Terra Vista, everything changed. She's safe, engaged, and surrounded by people who truly understand dementia. And I finally get to just be her daughter again.
Terra Vista was built specifically for caring for those with Alzheimer's and other types of dementia, with secure indoor and outdoor spaces, innovative therapies, and a community that feels like home. Residents stay active, connected, and respected every single day.
And the best part? Mom can live with dignity, and I have peace of mind.
If memory care is in your future, choose the community designed for it. Choose Terra Vista of Oak Brook Terrace. Schedule a tour today at terravista.org. Again, that's terravista.org, and tell them AM 560 sent you. Terra Vista, where memory care lives.
Are you ready for a new adventure? Alistair Begg invites you on a remarkable cruise to a part of the world you've never seen before, the old world charm of the Netherlands and the majestic fjords of Norway, September 5th through the 12th, 2026. See this picturesque part of the world where the sights are magnificent and the glacier-carved cliffs demonstrate the grandeur of God's creative handiworks. As Alistair leads you through the scriptures, sail through Norway's breathtaking fjords where towering cliffs, cascading waterfalls, and glassy waters reflect God's splendor. Adventure awaits you in the town of Haugesund, where you can explore a reconstructed Viking farm and stroll through the peaceful grounds of local churches and discover a land rich with history and tradition. Cabins are limited, so call today 855-565-5519, 855-565-5519, or log on to deeperfaithcruise.com.
Dan Proft here to tell you about our 2025 Food for the Poor campaign. If you've listened to this station and to our show for any length of time, then you already know about Food for the Poor. They are a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean. We all know about how bad the situation is in Latin America and the Caribbean right now. Economic decline, political instability and corruption, and high food prices. The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor and their partners who are providing life-saving food relief on the ground. But in order to get food and water to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your gift of just $150 can provide food and water for 2 children for an entire year. For a gift of $300, you can provide food and water for 4 children for an entire year. To make a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673. Or visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor.
Check off the wish list with instant savings and free battery offers on select steel tools. Shop online or in store.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hackberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Inbound on the Kennedy from O'Hare to the Burnt Interchange is 25 minutes. Outbound is 35, and you are jammed between Montrose Avenue and Harlem Avenue with a collision that is really slowing you down. But you're in great shape on the Eden Bold Ways from Montrose to Lake Cook. It's about 16 minutes. Inbound on the Eisenhower from Wolf to the Old Post Office is 21 minutes. Outbound is 17. Inbound Stevenson from the Tri-State to Lakeshore, 24 minutes. minutes, outbound 17. The Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn interchange is 18 minutes, outbound is 11. You are slow on the inbound express lanes as you approach the Stevenson. This report is a service of Super Sure. Do you own a small business? You need to hear this. A seismic shift is coming. It's time to get super sure. Not kind of sure, not pretty sure, not a little sure, but super sure. The seismic shift is coming. Super Sure, coming soon. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be breezy and significantly colder with clouds giving way to some sunshine. The temperature will reach a high of 25. Tonight, expect rather cloudy and breezy conditions. It won't be as cold later on, with temperatures dropping to a low of 23, but rising into the mid-30s. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. When Governor Jelly Belly signed the legislation to make assisted suicide the law of the land of Lincoln last week, he couched it as choice. He wrestled with it, listened to people of conscience who opposed it, characterized, by the way, opposition to it as exclusively faith-based, which it's not. As we discussed, professional medical associations like the AMA, which is not only secular, it's left, opposed it. But it's choice. It's giving people choice. And who could be against that? I mean, unless it's choice in their kids' education, of course. And now New York, Kathy Hochul is moving in the same direction as you would expect she would. She's scheduled to make, I guess, some modifications to the language of the assisted suicide legislation in New York and make that the law of New York after the first of the year. For more on the topic, we're pleased to be joined by Wesley Smith, who is perhaps the most recognized intellectual opponent of assisted suicide. We've talked to him before, and unfortunately we have to talk to him again because of these developments. It's not unfortunate that we have to talk to you, Wesley. It's unfortunate the circumstances. I phrased that poorly, I guess. Wesley Smith, Senior Fellow at the Discovery Institute Center for Human Exceptionalism. Thanks for joining us, as always. Appreciate it.
Sounds like something my wife might say.
Yes. Unfortunately, I have to talk to Wesley again. This is a celebration of people's choice to prevent prolonged suffering at end of life, and who could be opposed to that?
Well, Illinois is now officially pro some suicides. There's no other way to describe it. I mean, this idea of, quote, MAID, M-A-I-D, that's a gooey euphemism. You've used the correct term, assisted suicide. Suicide means to kill yourself. Assisted means to receive help. So Illinois is now joining other states. And once New York's bill is signed, this is very rough, but about half the people of this country will live in jurisdictions that are pro some suicides. And then what will happen, Dan, because it's happened in many of the states that have already legalized, and certainly in countries that have euthanasia, is all of these guidelines you've been hearing about, to protect against abuse, will protect the vulnerable. As soon as the law goes into effect, the media will start telling stories of somebody who just wanted to die and couldn't access it. And very quickly, the, quote, guidelines that protect are redefined into obstacles. And the process of expanding eligibility will start. So what's happening in Illinois, and Governor Pritzker was always going to sign this bill. This idea that he, I sweated over it as baloney.
He wrestled with it. Oh yes, sure.
He wrestled with it. It's part of the progressive policy agenda, and he's running for president. But you're going to end up in a situation where the pressure will be on to expand eligibility. And one of the other opponents, by the way, groups that oppose it are, this faith-based idea is, of course, trying to marginalize opposition. Disability rights activists are the most vociferous opponents of assisted suicide. They're not faith-based, generally speaking, and certainly not the organizations. They're not politically conservative. They tend to be very politically liberal, very secular, but they know they're the ultimate targets. Because if killing is an acceptable answer to human suffering, what in the world does terminal illness have to do with it? There are a lot of people who suffer far longer and perhaps more extremely, the mentally ill, than people with terminal illnesses. And that's why you see throughout the world a process of expansion. So the real debate we should be having is whether there should be a fundamental human right to be killed or to have suicide, if that's what you want. That's the ultimate destination of this agenda. They don't admit it, and it may not be the goal of some, but for example, in Germany, there is now a fundamental right to commit suicide and be assisted for any reason whatsoever, thanks to a court ruling. And the same thing is true in Estonia.
Well, of course, we had this discussion on my program with Father Robert Sirico from the Acton Institute, but I'll recount it here. When you say it's about choice, well, what's the limiting principle? Because, right. You're saying it's my choice, and I'm describing my suffering, and I want to end the suffering, so I'm going to make this choice. So you use that, it's just for these diseases and not these other diseases? It's just for this feeling of despondency and not something. No. You said it's my choice. I'm the sovereign here. So how do you then redraw a line that you erased?
Right. And how do you justify suicide prevention? Illinois has just entered a cadre of people that can get assisted suicide, facilitated suicide, but these people who are suicidal like any other suicidal person will not be offered suicide prevention. And by the way, the law also requires all doctors in your state to be complicit in assisted suicide. Because while there is a conscience protection where the doctor does not actually have to write the prescription, as I read the law, I read these aspects very carefully. Every doctor who's asked for assisted suicide will have to, it says shall, judge whether that patient is qualified, 6 months or less to live. And also, if they refuse to write the prescription, they have to be complicit by finding a doctor they know will write the prescription. So the conscience protections that are supposedly protecting doctors from having to violate the Hippocratic Oath are really half, what.
Yeah. There's this, I don't think I think a lot of people can't conceive that people actually want to get rid of people they think are not viable economically. It would be better if they weren't here. I think people don't think that is a real thing, and it is a real thing. There's this essay that was written by Harriet McBride Johnson about 20 years ago. She's a legal scholar who is disabled due to a neuromuscular disease, or was. She talked about her personal relationship with Peter Singer, who is the Princeton bioethicist who believes in infanticide. Truly, yes. He does.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, and you can speak to that, better than I. In her essay, Harriet McBride Johnson, she's a legal scholar. She's got a neuromuscular disease, but she was a legal scholar. She writes, he insists he doesn't want to kill me. He simply thinks it would have been better, all things considered, to have given my parents the option of killing the baby I once was, and to let other parents kill similar babies as they come along, and thereby avoid the suffering that comes with lives like mine, and satisfy the reasonable preference of parents for a different kind of child. He is willing to follow the logic of the arguments in favor of abortion all the way to support for assisted suicide for the same reason, that it is strictly about utilitarianism for the individual or for the parent in the case of abortion.
Right, and it's not just theoretical. Singer is, of course, the world's most prominent moral philosopher, which in his case is an oxymoron.
Yeah.
But in the Netherlands, they actually do commit infanticide. There's it's something called the Groningen Protocol, Groningen. People can look it up, where if a baby is born with a serious disability or a terminal illness, doctors lethally inject them in their bassinets. And that is part of the euthanasia policy in the Netherlands. The same thing is true in Belgium. In Canada, which has jumped into the down the euthanasia cliff with a smile on its face, they're now talking about euthanizing children. It's not yet legal there. And they also are talking about allowing what they call mature minors, whatever that means, to decide for euthanasia on their own without their parental involvement. So once you unleash this tiger, it runs amok and it begins to expand because, as you pointed out, there is a logic here. Human beings are a logical species, and we take principles where they lead. And where this leads is to death on demand.
Yeah, and the experience you mentioned in Germany, Canada, it's sort of the same story. We've heard some, you mentioned mature minors, people who are depressed, mental, a potentially a fleeting mental challenge and not anything that is permanently debilitating, but nonetheless, MAID is at your service.
Right. And then you begin to say, well, gee, these people are going to die. Let's get some good use out of them. And you start conjoining euthanasia with organ harvesting. That is happening in the Netherlands. People who are mentally ill in the Netherlands can go to a hospital, be killed in the hospital, wheeled next door into a surgical suite and have their organs harvested. The same thing is true in Belgium. In Canada, in the province of Ontario, if a doctor says, I'll kill you, the doctor then calls the organ procurement organization, which calls the patient and says, can we have your liver? It objectifies people. It destroys their equality. And once you create a killable caste of people, they are deemed as less equal than people whose lives are supposedly being protected.
Right. I mean, I think this is the kind of thing Flannery O'Connor was talking about when she famously observed that tenderness leads to the gas chambers. This is all done. Well, this is what it is. I mean, but that's what it is. I mean, this is all done. This is all invoked as particularly compassionate and empathetic and tender. I care so much about you. I would like to give you the option to kill yourself and even encourage you to do it at some point.
Right. And the advocates for this, because they know the United States is still resisting more than places like Canada or the Netherlands, Germany, and so forth, they will say, but it's just about the terminally ill for whom nothing else can be done to alleviate suffering. But realize that most people who ask for euthanasia or assisted suicide, study after study has shown this, don't do it because of pain that can't be treated. They do it for existential issues, things like worries about being a burden, so that people are willing to put themselves out of their loved ones' misery. Worries about being unable to engage in enjoyable activities. These are very important issues, but they need to be addressed with care. The whole hospice movement, I was able to interview Dame Cecily Saunders, who created the modern hospice movement. Suicide prevention was as important as she envisioned hospice as pain control. Because I asked her, I said, what about assisted suicide? And she said, that denies the equal dignity of my patients. It's like saying, okay, you see somebody about to jump off a bridge. No, life is worth living. He says, I've got cancer. And you say, oh, well, let me hold your coat. You're saying that person's life isn't worth living.
Yeah, I mean, it's gallows humor, but right. The other thing, too, is I just find it's so unnecessary for the state to come in and sanction this. Talking about end-of-life care, you're of sound mind and body. You can make your own decisions about end-of-life care. You have DNR orders and the like, and you do that in consultation with your doctor and family and so forth. So, I mean, I agree this should be I think it should be a private matter. And interestingly, of course, those who champion privacy and choice are insinuating the institution that has a monopoly of force to more than just provide for, to ultimately, as we see it play out in practice, to encourage, even incentivize?
Well, eventually it becomes normalized because you'll also have the media start to depict wonderful suicide parties and so forth. So a lot of your
A heroic
listeners
suicide.
Yeah, exactly. We all gather while the person commits suicide. Now, a lot of your listeners may face that conundrum. Let's say Grandma Jones has cancer and has 5 months to live, and you get a call from your sister saying, well, she's decided she's doing it Tuesday. We want you to be there. If you go, you're complicit in Grandma Jones' suicide. If you don't go, you're abandoning Grandma Jones. It's going to put the entire population of Illinois at a potential serious conflict.
Wesley Smith, Senior Fellow at the Discovery Institute Center for Human Exceptionalism. Wesley, thanks for joining us again. Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Dan, and Merry Christmas to you.
And Wesley Smith joined us on the Turnkey.Pro Answer Line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
If you or someone you love are getting high quotes for dental implants, visit almostfreeteeth.com today. With a medical PPO insurance plan, it's possible to save 90% off on average to be able to smile again. Check if you qualify now at almostfreeteeth.com.
I'm Rob Cole, owner of Cole Digital in Frankfort, specialists in smart home design and installation. We sell more lighting control than anyone in Chicagoland, replacing your light switches with our smart dimmers, each with 1 to 5 buttons with backlit text. With an astronomical clock, your coach lamps, landscape, and Christmas lights will be an autopilot for life. You'll never come home to a dark house again. Touch a button marked Arrive, Entertain, or Movie Night, and all of your lighting will set the right mood. Press Bedtime to illuminate a path to bed, turning off all your lights in sequence. Add our SunSmart line of automated shades with designer fabrics and control it all with your phone. Tour our Smart Living Design Center, the largest in America, with 2 fully automated homes, lighting showroom, and a shade and blind studio, and see what smart living is all about. Visit us at coledigital.com. That's KOLE digital.com. Or call us at 815-469-2000, and we'll bring the showroom to you. Cole Digital, we're changing the way homes think.
Dan Proft here to tell you about an opportunity for you to promote your business and to make a difference this Christmas season. I'm talking about our Food for the Poor Business Benefactor Program. We've partnered with Food for the Poor to provide life-saving food and water for thousands of children and their families in Latin America and the Caribbean. Your business can be a part of this effort. Become a Food for the Poor business benefactor by making a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor. That donation will help more than 30 children for an entire year. And when you do that, AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air here on AM 560 The Answer between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m., Monday through Friday, at no additional cost to you. To take advantage of this deal, just call John Gallagher at 847-472-8950. Again, that's 847-472-8950. One more time, the number, 847-472-8950. Or go to 560theanswer.com/food for the poor. That website again, 560theanswer.com/food for the poor.
Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
The team at Fox Valley Coins would like to wish your family a very Merry Christmas and a happy, healthy, and prosperous New Year. Thank you for making Fox Valley Coins one of the largest coin dealers in the entire Midwest. With our current prices and market conditions for coins and precious metals, 2026 will be a very busy year. Experts in all major forms of gold, silver, platinum, and palladium, Fox Valley Coins also specialize in rare and collector coins and currency. For your large estate collections, Fox Valley Coins will even make house calls to your home or bank to appraise or buy your collections. Fox Valley Coins on Route 59 in Naperville, Illinois. Family-owned integrity since 1981. Fox Valley Coins will be closed Christmas Eve through Sunday, January 4th, celebrating Jesus' birth with family. And for year-end inventory, we're back open on Monday the 5th. Visit foxvalleycoins.com. That's foxvalleycoins.com. This Christmas, remember, Jesus is God's gift to man.
I can't believe how much better Dad's doing since we brought on Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest.
I know. He's more engaged, more himself. It makes such a difference having him right here at home.
Around the photos, his old record player, his favorite recliner, all the little things he knows. That familiarity really matters with dementia.
And their caregivers, they're just incredible. They treat him with so much patience and respect.
Plus, they helped us tap into a Medicare program that offers 80 hours of respite care for Alzheimer's and dementia.
We're not worried anymore, and Dad gets to stay where he's happiest, at home.
Trust the caregivers at Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest, serving Cook, DuPage, Kane, Kendall, and Will counties. They have no hourly minimums, and you can call them 24/7 at 331-281-0728. Again, that's 331-281-0728. And tell them AM 560 sent you. Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. Senior care, only better.
AM 560, The Answer.
Email from Iran and Berwyn on the topic of assisted suicide. If a person doesn't have the right to end their own life, they are property of the state. The arrogance of denying a person's right to end their suffering under the cloak of preventing state-sanctioned suicide is downright evil, if you ask me. Well, since you asked me, why do you need the state to sanction it? Why do you need to involve and corrupt the medical profession? Ron in Berwyn just wants something that is morally objectionable to be declared to be a moral good. His position is sophistry.
This is a Fox News alert. The manhunt is over for the suspected Brown University shooter. I'm Dave Anthony. He's dead. And it turns out he did more than murder 2 students and wound 9 others in Saturday's shooting in Providence.
Authorities identify the shooter as Claudio Neves Valente from Portugal. He went to Brown University for a PhD physics program in the early 2000s, but never graduated. Before that, he went to school in Lisbon, and his classmate was MIT professor Nuno Lauriero. Authorities say Neves Valente murdered his former classmate at his home outside of Boston.
That happened Monday. Fox's Nate Foy was in Salem, New Hampshire, where Valente was found dead in a storage unit. He'd shot himself. Valente came into the U.S. in 2017 through a green card visa lottery that Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem has put on hold. Posting on X last night, they want to ensure no more Americans are harmed by this disastrous program. The Justice Department's on deadline, mandated by Congress to turn over more files from the Jeffrey Epstein sex trafficking investigation. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche tells Fox this morning they'll turn over hundreds of thousands of items today.
And those documents will come in all different forms, photographs and other materials associated with all of the investigations.
President Trump will go to Rocky Mount, North Carolina tonight to talk up what he says is a strong economy.
The remarks are probably going to echo what he said in his speech to the nation earlier this week. And we might even also see graphs and charts again showing the difference between the price of goods as he continues to relay this message that he's inherited a mess and he's trying to fix.
That's Fox's Aisha Hasni at the White House. Democrats say it's the president making things unaffordable.
The Republicans are losers.
House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries also upset the Kennedy Center Board of Directors, chosen by the president, who's the chairman, voted to rename it the Trump Kennedy Center. Jeffries says that's illegal. Only Congress has that power.
The wannabe king and his sycophantic minions can't do it.
America's listening to Fox News.
WIND, Chicago.
Good morning. It is 15 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. A string of armed robberies has prompted police to issue a warning to residents in the Morgan Park neighborhood. According to reports, the victims were targeted via Facebook Marketplace. Authorities say the alleged robber goes by the name Serving Best Deals and has responded to people who were listing certain shoes for sale online. The victims were then held up at gunpoint when they met to complete the sale. Police advised meeting up with online purchasers at a police station. Expect to see more security on CTA bus and train stations starting today. Dozens more police and private security officers will begin participating in part of the new Volunteer Special Employment Program. That new program's goal is to increase the number of officers and security personnel, which will increase safety. Governor J.B. Pritzker and Mayor Brennan Johnson say the Safety Enhancement Program was already being implemented before the Federal Transportation Administration issued a demand for a detailed plan to better protect riders and personnel or risk losing federal funding. And the man accused of lighting a woman on fire on a Chicago train has been formally indicted by a grand jury. Fox's Jessica Rosenthal has more.
The grand jury indictment says they believe Lawrence Reed knowingly used gasoline and a lighter to set fire to someone on Chicago's Blue Line train in November with the intent to cause someone bodily harm or death on a mass transportation vehicle. They also charged him with trying to set fire to Chicago City Hall a few days before that. On the Blue Line train, 26-year-old Bethany McGee was left in critical condition with severe burns all over her body and face. Reed's record includes over 70 arrests. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
This report is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again, not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you can save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes, but time now for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Sony Group is acquiring an additional 41% stake in the Peanuts franchise for just under $500 million. The purchase will give Sony 80% of Peanuts holdings, which includes the iconic Snoopy and Charlie Brown characters. The family of Peanuts creator Charles M. Schultz will retain the remaining 20%. There are a couple of economic reports expected today as Wall Street winds down before Christmas week. Existing home sales for November and consumer sentiment for this month will be released. Costco has been making changes to keep its merchandise affordable this holiday season. The Wall Street Journal says Costco has slimmed down its holiday assortment, but it has added more health and beauty products and seasonal food. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Cosola. Invested in you.
Scott Jennings reminds Democrats of the rules of politics.
I made sure that I said A. Jeffrey Epstein.
But you were trying to insinuate that it was a V.
Oh, I absolutely was insinuating that it could be possible. That is true.
Okay, so Jasmine Crockett, A, is the smartest person in the Democratic Party, and B, has forgotten the number one rule of politics. When you're in a hole, stop digging.
The Scott Jennings Show. Weekdays at 1, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Anthony and John here from Bionic Auto Parts, proud clients of Signature Bank. We deliver high quality, recycled and remanufactured auto parts to Chicago and Milwaukee. Our mission is simple: provide parts safely, reliably, with great customer satisfaction.
We process over 350 vehicles a month. With big banks, everything took forever. Layers of approvals and endless delays. At Signature Bank, one call got it done. Whether it's lending, deposits, or treasury management, they deliver fast. Signature Bank made us feel like family. That's a partnership we deeply appreciate.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome back to Ask Hasselus.
What's the secret to your success?
Clean living, hard work, and no employees.
No employees?
At Hasselus, give our mattresses a try with no pushy sales guy.
Nobody breathing down my neck?
Plus, way low prices, free next day delivery, and through Monday, get a free box spring or $300 off an adjustable base with the purchase of any queen or king size Beautyrest or Sealy Posturepedic mattress.
You could say Hasselus is an overnight success.
Hasselus.com.
If you've ever caught yourself putting hemorrhoid cream on your toothbrush instead of toothpaste, you might need a better night's sleep.
People are loving Penny Mustard's line of double-sided memory foam mattresses.
If you told your boss, "I love you," when ending a phone call, you might need a better night's sleep.
Made in Wisconsin and built to last 45% longer than the average memory foam mattress.
If the server says, "Enjoy your meal," and you respond, "You too."
Insanely comfortable, exclusive double-sided memory foam developed by the sleep geniuses at Penny Mustard.
If you hugged your dentist when he was trying to unclip your bib.
Offering zero-gravity sleep positioning.
And backed by a 1-year comfort guarantee.
If you spend 20 minutes following an unsuspecting stranger around their hardware store because you thought he was your husband, you might need a better night's sleep.
And a better night's sleep starts at Penny Mustard Furnishings.
Find a showroom near you at pennymustard.com.
Better versions of the sleep people want.
Penny Mustard Furnishings.
My name is Whitney Allen. I am a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought in a million years we'd have to use life insurance. The unexpected happened. With Ethos, it is so fast and easy. It's 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage through Ethos.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ETHOS.com/term.
Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
You ever wonder why Verizon charges twice as much as Pure Talk for the same basic service? Think it might have something to do with the fact that Verizon spends $12 billion a year on advertising and promotion? That's billion with a B? Yeah, Pure Talk doesn't spend that kind of money on commercials. That's why they can offer unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data on a blazing fast 5G network for just $25 a month. Save an additional 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say the words Micro. That's pound 250, Micro.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Barely moving northbound on Lakeshore Drive, completely jammed into Hollywood Avenue. You're also stop and go on the Tri-State northbound from 47th Street to the Eisenhower, and it's 60 minutes on the inbound Eisenhower from the Jane Addams to the Old Post Office. Outbound is 43, inbound Kennedy from O'Hare to the Byrne Interchange, 45 minutes, outbound 37. The express lanes are stop and go inbound between the Eden Expressway and Division Street. Inbound Eden from Lake Cook to Montrose is 19 minutes, outbound is 23. Inbound Stevenson from the Tri-State to Lakeshore, 38 minutes, outbound is 19. Inbound Dan Ryan from 95th to the Byrne Interchange, 25 minutes, outbound is 12. Traffic is a service of Quick Delivery Service. Make Quick Delivery Service your personal ground crew anytime, anywhere, any place. When you need to move your shipment or freight, Quick Delivery will get it there. Get a quote in advance and eliminate any surprises at quickdelivery.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be breezy and significantly colder as clouds give way to some sunshine with a high of 25. Tonight will remain rather cloudy and breezy, but not as cold later on with a low of 23. Temperatures will rise into the mid-30s. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Merry Christmas.
On AM 560.
Ho, ho, ho.
The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So, President Trump has instituted a travel ban. There's about a dozen and a half countries that have a full pause, and another dozen countries, 12 to 15 countries, that have a partial pause. We have announced that we're going to be revetting Afghan asylees after the attack on the two National Guardsmen, the murder of one, the attempted murder of the other before Thanksgiving. It was announced yesterday that per the Brown University attacker and the same guy who murdered that MIT professor, that the diversity lottery via which he became a permanent resident after entering this country on a student visa will be paused. And yet we still have a problem, as was laid out by Tulsi Gabbard at the outset of this week. 18,000 people that DNI has identified, round numbers, who have relationships or past behavior that implicates them as a national security threat. 2,000 of whom, as we heard in congressional testimony from her chief of staff, Joe Kent, are Afghans. And despite that, we have another problem. We have this mentality in the upper reaches of power in big cities around the country, in particular. Not limited to big cities, but particularly big cities. Brian O'Hara is perhaps the worst police chief in America. He's the police chief for the city that used to be known as Minneapolis. This is what he had to say this week about that sanctuary community in service of Pajamas Boy Fry, the mayor there, and Ilhan Omar, and Somali fraudsters and the rest.
We know this has been a very, very difficult time for our communities here in the city. The fear that people are experiencing is real. As our mayor has said, it's been sad to drive down Lake Street and to see so many of our businesses either closed or empty. It's hard to see the impact that this is having on everyone in our community. It's especially personal to me, having been raised a Catholic, to be in a Christian church this morning as we are approaching Christmas. And I cannot help but think of what is happening in our city today and how that echoes with how outsiders have been treated for thousands of years, how Mary and Joseph themselves were considered outsiders and forced to stay in a barn. That's what we're getting ready to commemorate as Christians around the world, while all of this fear is happening right here in our town. So my goal, and our goal as the Minneapolis Police, is to try and do what we can to reduce fear.
Mm-hmm. Why don't you work on, focus on reducing violence, both domestic and imported, in that crackerjack of a city? Right. Mary and Joseph are just like Tren de Aragua gangbangers. They're just like Maryland Man. Same dynamic. It doesn't even merit a response. If you don't see the idiocy of those statements, if you're not offended by them as a Christian and a Catholic, then there's no getting to you. So why waste the breath? For more on the topic, we're pleased to be joined by our friend Dr. Zuhdi Jasser. He's the president of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy. He's co-founder of the Muslim Reform Movement and former U.S. Navy lieutenant commander and candidate for Congress in Arizona's 4th. And as I said, because I called him doctor, he's a medical doctor too. Talented guy, Dr. Jasser, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Well, you're cutting out on us, Dr. Jasser.
Can you hear me? It's great to join you. Thanks for having me. This is such an important topic.
Yeah, so, let me just give you the floor in terms of what the Western world has experienced this week in Bondi Beach, Brown University, too. That's still up in the air in terms of motive and more details about the person responsible for those murders in Brown and the MIT professor. In addition to, of course, the plots, the radical Islamist terrorist plots that were foiled in Germany and California. Well, that wasn't radical Islamist, sort of by extension, because there were a bunch of leftist knuckleheads that were also motivated by Free Palestine and all that jazz. But they were, I guess, more environmental oriented, but, birds of a feather when it comes to terrorism. Anyway, go ahead. Do we lose Dr. Jasser? Do we have him?
You got me?
Oh,
yep.
Okay. We got you now.
Okay, sorry about
that. Okay, let's break and try and get a better connection with Dr. Jasser, please.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
This message is for anyone looking for $500,000 to $1 million or more of affordable term life insurance, even if you have diabetes, high blood pressure, or taking anxiety meds. Here's an example. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe overweight with type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term life insurance may only cost about $200 a month. We're Term Provider, experts in finding affordable term life insurance for those that may not be in perfect health. If you've had prostate cancer, heart conditions, high cholesterol, or on prescription medications, you may still qualify for $500,000 to $1 million or more of affordable term life insurance. Get a quick quote by calling Term Provider at 800-555-2085. 800-555-2085. If you're looking for term life insurance but have type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, or have other health issues, call Term Provider at 800-555-2085 or visit termprovider.com. Termprovider.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Okay, let's try again. Dr. Jasser, are you there?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, gotcha. Great. So as we left off, your comment on the week that was with the terrorist attack in Bondi Beach and the murders at Brown and MIT and the terrorist plots that were foiled in Germany and California.
Yeah, these are not just lone wolves. These are packs and battalions that are coming from a massive national movement, a global movement against America, against the West, against Israel and the free world. And we're at war. And America has waged wars against Nazism, communism, and we defeated Soviet communism without ever firing a bullet against them. But we had resolve as a nation that we understood the threat. And the only way you can defeat threats is by naming it and identifying it. And like the apologist mayor that is part of the far-left identity politic DEI movement, they do our families no service by trying to say that somehow it's an identity movement. It's ideologies. And enough with the participation trophies to Muslims for participating in democracy. We need to stop the bigotry of low expectations, which is exactly what your audio of him talking about the Somali community was. There's nothing more bigoted than expecting less of certain communities than we do of our own families and of our own communities that we consider to be equal citizens. So if they're going to come to this country like my family did, we embrace freedom and we expect them to follow the same moral codes that are part of our constructs and social contracts of constitutional freedom. So President Trump is right, just like he was in his first term with a ban on immigrants coming from radicalized countries that we can't vet. This term, it's even much worse because Biden opened the borders. We have folks, thousands upon thousands in our country that we never vetted, that are part of radical Islamist movement that divide the world into the world of Islam and the world of war. And that's their ideology. So until we have a national conversation and an offense against that ideology, by the way, Muslims are our greatest assets in that. We understand the threat. Our families are threatened in Iran as dissidents, in Syria, in Egypt, all across the Middle East. But we need to have the courage. And recently, the House has been talking about labeling the Muslim Brotherhood a terror group, and that's what we should have done a decade ago. And finally, the president did it through executive order. And that identification should be everything anybody wants to know about what the threat is, because that's a global, political, theopolitical movement.
And it seems to me, see if you agree. I mean that the crux of the issue here with respect to immigration is that it needs to be individualized. It can't be done en masse. We're going to take X amount of people from X amount of country individually, and without sort of diversity quotas. Well, just like we don't want diversity quotas and anything else, it needs to be done individually based on the merits of that individual and with an eye towards assimilation, like you were just describing, as a core disposition that has to be present. Otherwise, it's no.
Exactly. Listen, America is an idea. We have a much better bulwark against radical Islam even than Europe, because Americanism, which was a country founded in a battle against theocracy, has the most potent inoculant against theocratic movements. So, but in order to understand which Muslims are the friends of anti-theocracy and which ones are actually theocrats that want to destroy us, as in pre-America type ideology, then we have to vet for that. Now, it's not going to be foolproof, but it's certainly better than surrendering to them and letting them cross our border and have Hamasniks coming across or supporters of Hezbollah, or, as we know, it's not just Islamists anymore. The red-green axis has coalesced. The CCP of China, the the oligarchs of Russia, the socialists of the world, have worked together with the Islamists to create the Mamdanis of the world, and the encampments of movements across universities where you had kids supporting Hamas and movements that were pro-terror, and yet they didn't even know where Palestine was on a map. So they're radicalizing our country, and we see the Ilhan Omars of the world driving the Senator Schumers of the world because it's radicalized the far left. So I care about my country. One of the reasons I'm running for Congress is if the far left gets radicalized, so does the rest of our country. And we need to come back to what unites us as Americans and begin to have a national conversation about, okay, these are policies we disagree on, but there's some things that are just, we can't compromise on, and that is what defines America and who we let in and who's our enemy and who's our friend.
And it needs to be more than soaring rhetoric, too. It also just needs to be very hard-headed competence. We have, I mentioned this earlier this week, 233,000, there was a report, 233,000 migrants that were not properly vetted by the Biden administration. I'm sure that's a fraction of the size of the actual problem. In addition to this, it's little things that are indicative of big things. And the fraudsters, the same fraudsters who steal hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe billions of dollars of other people's money, like those Somali scammers, they know the vulnerabilities. There was another audit this week in 1,400 from Homeland Security. 1,400 cases, records show that sponsors for migrants, part of Biden's parole programs, 1,400 cases where sponsors had died. There was also applications where the sponsor's name was Elvis Presley, who is also passed away. Some people don't believe it, but he has. So I mean, it's just, it is like comical incompetence. They are ridiculing the system because it is so porous, because it is so incompetent, even if you have sort of black letter rules and regulations as to how these processes are supposed to be administered.
100%. And, as not only as an anti-Islamist, but as a physician, I see that healthcare, they shut down our government for 6 months and for 6 weeks and held America hostage while they wanted to subsidize. It turns out these billions were being used for fake patients and fake programs, et cetera. And this is what America's supposed to believe. We've lost faith in government because the extremes are running our government, or at least holding us hostage. And this is just one case that we found out about. God knows what's under the tip of that iceberg. And we need to vet from within. It's not just those coming in our borders. Do you know that in our security apparatus, be it the FBI or Pentagon, there's no vetting process to know if folks belong to the Islamist axis globally and what they believe theologically? And yet if you raise that question, it's about religious freedom, no. Our founding fathers didn't have a problem confronting theocracy. It wasn't anti-Christian to do so. It was very pro-Christian. So we can do it from a pro-Muslim perspective, but be anti-Islamist. That's why we stop the immigration from those coming across that until we know how to vet them. And then we are plainly clear that not only will we root out corruption and exploitation of the systems, but we make sure that the vetting process begins to hold every community accountable, because otherwise you're going to create more anti-Muslim bigotry by people being concerned that they're just exploiting us and not contributing to America as a nation.
We talk about the need to hold people accountable, and people need to see people being held accountable to have confidence in the system. So, for example, we talked a bit earlier in the show about that Wisconsin judge, Hannah Dugan, who was convicted on a felony count of obstruction of justice for aiding and abetting the escape of an illegal immigrant from her courtroom in Milwaukee. What about with respect to people who may have a permanent status or may even be a naturalized citizen, but did so essentially illicitly, or were unvetted, or turn out to pose a national security threat, one of the 18,000 some that Tulsi Gabbard has said are present in this country? Do you think there needs to be sort of a high-profile, legitimate, substantive, a high-profile example of somebody that is in this country with some sort of legal status but shouldn't be being having that status taken away, even going so far as to be denaturalized, to show this is the level we're getting down to separate the wheat from the chaff in this country?
It is a privilege to be a citizen of the United States of America. It's not something we just hand out because you have a heartbeat and you decided to cross the border. You know, my parents waited in order to get actual political asylum in the late 60s, and they did it legally. And that was the greatest blessing I ever had, was to be born in the U.S. and not in the open-air prison of Syria. And many folks are waiting legally. So we corrupt the whole system by not having a process by which you hold people accountable. And there's no statute of limitations that I know on those things. So if you lied about it, whether you're a congresswoman in Minnesota who may have lied about her marriage status in order to get in, like Ilhan Omar, who knows? Those things need to be vetted, and it is part of the rule of law. The left is always screaming about rule of law and other cases that they do through their lawfare, be it about Letitia James or others. So listen, they're not adverse to using the law when it suits their political interest. I, as an American citizen, want to know that people coming in have been vetted legally, and there's nothing wrong with and Secretary Rubio said it correctly. People here on visas, for example, don't have a right to the same rights of citizens, of free speech, et cetera. So that's another part of the adjudication, that somehow all of a sudden they're here as a privilege to visit, and they can go around radicalizing our university students by supporting Hamas. No, they can't do that. They're not the same as naturalized citizens and others that have the First Amendment at their protection.
One of the disturbing things this week was that fruit stand owner in Australia who acted heroically to disarm one of the two terrorists, of Syrian extraction, I understand, Muslim. So, I mean, a good example of looking at the individual, not the identitarian traits. He acted heroically and celebrated in many circles. But the disturbing thing was I saw there was a lot of criticism of him from some elements of the Muslim community in Australia for saving the lives of Jewish Australians. And so, you know, this ratcheting up of anti-Semitism that has occurred since the 10/7 terrorist attack in Gaza, this continues to be a real problem.
100%. And we have a coalition called the Clarity Coalition that is a coalition that really is almost like the Manhattan Project against political Islam. It's a coalition like the Committee on the Present Danger that fought against Soviet communism, that brings together Muslims, non-Muslims, former Muslims, Jews, Christians, Hindus, and others. People can see it at claritycoalition.org. And, you know, Ahmed, the Syrian immigrant in Australia who pulled that weapon away, that metaphor of pulling away, we have to pull away the ideas of radicalism from Muslims, and the silent Muslims are no different than the silent Germans. And if you look, don't look any further than Qatar. Qatar put out a press release. Remember, Qatar runs Al Jazeera, the largest Muslim radicalization propaganda arm on the planet that 60 million Arabs watch a day. Their press release after Australia didn't mention that the victims were Jewish, didn't mention that it happened on Hanukkah, said it was a crime, and didn't mention terrorism. This is why Muslims are being radicalized. That's the establishment that's guiding our community all the while our largest military base is there. And you had a voice vote in Congress about the Muslim Brotherhood designation just a few days ago that basically stripped it of the global designation. Why? Because of the Qatari lobby in Congress. So if you wonder where the Muslim voice is to counter these ideas, our own members of Congress don't want to be on record on countering the Brotherhood because of the Qatari lobby that ultimately is the central cancer cell of radicalization of our community.
Well, very frustrating. Well, Dr. Jasser, if the citizens of Arizona 4 don't vote you into Congress, then they are out of their minds. Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, president of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy, co-founder of Muslim Reform Movement, former U.S. Navy lieutenant commander, and again, candidate for Congress in Arizona 4. Dr. Jasser, happy holidays. Thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
God bless. Thanks for having me.
And he joins us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Santa's coming to town. Oh, my God.
On AM 560.
Santa here? I know him.
The Answer. Looking for some hope? Listen to Leading the Way with Dr. Michael Youssef on our sister station, AM 1160, Hope for Your Life. Weekday mornings starting at 8. AM 560, The Answer.
Open mic! Open mic Friday! Call it now! Open mic Friday!
It is that time of the week, our last Open Mic Friday of the year. So grab a line. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line and text line. Take your calls with comments, compliments, concerns, criticisms, general crack pottery. We'll take it all one more time in 2025, but we begin one more time in 2025 with David Kolsak, founder of turnkey.pro.
Good morning, Dan. Well, you know, accountability is the foundation of any functioning society. It's the principle that those entrusted with power must answer for their actions, especially when they violate the law or abuse the public trust. Yet in recent years, Americans have been told repeatedly that serious misconduct has occurred at the highest levels of government. Criminal acts, ethical violations, abuses of authority, only to watch as no one is meaningfully held accountable. We have been told that so many of our elected officials and those high up in the deep state have betrayed our country, but yet there's nothing. We hear the language of accountability constantly. Investigations are announced, hearings are televised, reports are promised, strong words are spoken about the rule of law, and stern letters are written, but too often the process ends there. Months turn into years, and the public is left with no charges, no convictions, no real consequences. Accountability is talked about endlessly, yet we don't see it. It's happening behind the scenes. People say, well, I'm sick of it. Arrest somebody. Get it done. This pattern sends a clear and corrosive message. There is no standard of justice. There is one standard for the powerful, and there's another standard for everybody else. Ordinary citizens face swift consequences for far smaller violations, missed paperwork, regulatory errors, tax mistakes, while those with political power, wealth, or institutional protection seem insulated from the very laws they enforce. When laws are applied selectively, they cease to be laws at all and instead become tools of control. When government officials believe that they will never face consequences, they do whatever they want with impunity. You know, commit a crime or 20 of them and nothing's going to happen to you. Even more troubling is how accountability has been replaced by performance. Committees become stages, press conferences become substitutes for justice. The system appears busy while accomplishing little. This creates the illusion of oversight without substance, leaving citizens frustrated and cynical like me. Some argue that accountability takes time, that due process must be respected. That's true, and it's essential, but due process does not mean endless delay, nor does it mean permanent inaction. A system that can never reach conclusions is not cautious, it's broken. Justice delayed indefinitely is justice denied, not only to the accused, but to the public itself. The consequences of this accountability vacuum are already visible. Public trust in government continues to decline. Civic engagement weakens. History shows that societies do not collapse because of disagreement. They collapse because citizens no longer believe the system applies to everyone equally. Accountability does not mean vengeance. It does not mean political retribution. It means consistency. It means transparency. It means that when credible evidence of wrongdoing exists, investigations conclude with clear outcomes. You're either guilty or you're innocent. And if you're guilty, the punishment should fit the crime. A government worthy of trust must be willing to police itself, not rhetorically, but concretely. That requires independent oversight with real authority, timelines that prevent endless stalling, and a renewed commitment to the principle that no position is above the law. Accountability is not optional. It's not partisan. It's not negotiable. It's the price of power in a free society. So until our government demonstrates that words will be matched by consequences, citizens will continue to ask the reasonable and unsettling question, if no one is ever held accountable, who is the government really accountable to at all? So the only thing I want for Christmas is accountability. I know it's a big ask, but dear Lord, bring some justice and bring it soon. And Merry Christmas to everybody, especially you, Dan, and go Bears.
All right. Merry Christmas, David. Very good. That was a good one to end the year on. Well done. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. I do have to announce the political song of the year. We'll do that momentarily. We've got a couple votes, I think, still coming in just under the wire. You know, we count after the polls close, just like they do in Illinois. So. Rick, Downers Grove.
Let's have a happy and safe new year. And my vote is for the What Set Are You On? That's a real toe tapper.
Yeah, it is. It is. There's no question. George in Naperville.
Yes, Stan, because of your all-embracing love for the magnificent singing in Which Side Are You On, the song has replaced Bing Crosby and Nat King Cole in our home this holiday season. Thank you, Dan, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Yeah, no, that's certainly one to roast some chestnuts to, George. Which side are you on? Okay, the votes have been tabulated. It was close. Every one of the 5 finalists got votes. I can say that honestly. But by my review of the returns, it is this song that is the political song of the year.
Mr. Governor, what do you have to say about the rise in violent crime in the city subway? This place is safe for subway riders. But it's not? Safer than a holiday. What does that even mean? You could ride it any day. But there have been 400 incidents. Don't worry about stuff that happened prior. It seems relevant. We just fixed it all for sure. How? By keeping what we had before. Oh, wait, did you hear that sound? One of the best governor around. No, it sounded more like oh. There it is again, it's so clear. Well, there is nothing to see here. This girl is on fire. This girl is on fire. It could be from a horrible accident. I set her on fire. Ooh. This girl is on fire. Wait, wasn't that guy arrested yesterday? Look, she's no longer a play. This is ridiculous. Our future's so bright, it'll burn your eyes. You better look the other way. Did I mention that we're saving the fishes? But isn't there a high likelihood they're not a bunch of cannibals? We must protect the animals. Oh, wait, did you hear that sound? Are there more fire ladies around? No? Good. Oh, wait, is that a drone or a plane? No, it's just orangey rain. Seriously. Oh my gosh. This bird is on fire.
All right, Remy from Reason.com with the political song of the year. I would have voted, in my mind, I voted for Alessandra Basher, the Thank You Elon song. She could sing, really sing too, like Remy can. But Remy's, just produced such great work over years. I think that's what tipped the scales for Remy. Okay, there it is. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line. Matt, Southside.
Hey, good morning, Dan. Real quick, I want to say, first of all, that Robert Gomez, who's complaining now about his restaurant permit, I did a quick Google search on him, and he supported Black Lives Matter back in 2020 and was feeding people who were arrested, offering to feed them based on his values. And the other thing I wanted to mention real quick was that new judge who's more worried about pronouns. What if he gets a pedophile in there who identifies as a MAP? What's he going to do? Because we're told that no people could be illegal. So if you're a MAP, a minor attracted person, right off the bat, I guess they're going to be innocent just because they can't be illegal.
Thanks for the call, Matt. Yeah, appreciate it. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off there. Text from 847. I nominate Political Song of the Year as the worst segment of the year. What a waste of my time. Merry Christmas, 847. I promise to give your consideration, your view, the consideration it deserves. Precisely, no more, no less. Hey, some people cheer, some people boo. What are you going to do? That's life. Marie Schomburg.
Hi. I just want to say a lot of my friends don't seem to be aware of the Muslim issues and the jihad stuff, but there is a town I read about in Minnesota, it seems to be true, that it's an all-Muslim city council, and they've approved doing animal sacrifices. And, of course, it says, there's within certain parameters. But I just want to say people who don't care about people getting killed or judges who are, letting out these, people who are going to commit crimes again, I think they might care about these animal sacrifices, so that should be looked into.
Okay. Thanks for the call, Marie. Yeah, here we're please don't eat the dogs. Please don't eat the cats. Why would you do that? Redux. Yeah. Oh, boy. Greg LaGrange.
Good morning, Dan. I'd like to say on the heels of that call, after Rothingham in England, what shouldn't we expect? Here are two. So let's roll back down the list. I agree 100% with what David Polsek said. And I appreciate his help for my nephew, Purdue grad. He's just spot on with his comment. Dr. Jasser is 100% correct. We could defeat communism with guns and bullets and arms and all of that, but we can't seem to beat it through its intellectual application. That's ridiculous, and that's all based on the fear of the citizenry, which has been embedded in us, I feel, for too long. And to begin your whole segment about that police chief, the secretary of Minneapolis, what, Dan? The thing I don't understand about the human condition is this man is supposed to protect the Constitution, not only for him, for the citizens, for his family, and the country moving forward. What in God's green earth does this man gain by selling his soul for Minneapolis? When it profits the man nothing to sell his soul for the whole world. It's incredible, the human psyche. Thank you, Dan.
Thanks for the call, Greg. 30 pieces of silver, perhaps? Mm-hmm. See that all the time, don't we? I have a sort of a negative positive story to get into. Maybe I'll do it here. Let me bring you this interaction between Jeannie, who works at Target, and a woman who has been identified as Michaela Ponce. I don't think she's any relation to the Chicago's Ponces that, dominate the local network affiliate news. Jeannie, the Target worker, working the holiday season, had a shirt on that Michaela didn't like. And this is how that went.
Why?
They let you wear that shirt here?
Yes. Why? Why are you taking my picture?
Why are you wearing that shirt? You're working.
It's not a red shirt. I can wear any red shirt.
It's not a plain shirt.
It doesn't have to be.
It's a Charlie Kirk shirt.
Yes. Yes, I know.
Are you f***ing stupid?
No.
Why the f*** would you wear that? You're at work at Target. That's not a Target shirt. It's not a plain red shirt. You support a racist.
It's not racist.
You support a racist.
He's not a racist.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not.
Yes, he f***ing is.
I'm sorry, but I'm not going to stand here and argue with you.
You're not. You should go get your manager. You should not be allowed to wear that at work. Unacceptable. Un-f***ing acceptable.
That's your opinion.
No, the opinion is he's a f***ing racist and you support him.
That's your opinion, ma'am.
And you should not be allowed to wear that. This is going to be taken above your f***ing head. That's insane. Insane.
Have a nice day.
Insane. Piece of shit.
Michaela Ponce obviously was never taught to respect their elders or to, treat people with decency. Well, it's a funny thing that happened because this is going above Jeannie's head. Is that right? Michaela Ponce has been identified. She's an employee of Enloe Health, a nonprofit health provider in California. In a public statement, Enloe Health said this: the Chico Police Department, this is California, is investigating a social media post on the personal account of an Enloe Health employee. We're deeply concerned about the tenor of this post and the response it is creating from individuals of all political persuasions. We ask for patience and calm as we conduct our own internal investigation on this matter. In the meantime, we are relying on the expertise of the Chico Police Department to investigate any potential criminal activity or threats related to it, and so on and so forth. What they're referring to, since Michaela decided to make a spectacle of herself, is a post apparently with Michaela and her husband where they are standing behind a SUV that has a Trump 2024 window decal and a America Needed Charlie Kirk window decal, and they're pointing The husband is pointing to his neck, like, where Charlie was shot and killed. And that delicate little flower, Michaela Ponce, is giving the finger. Gateway Pundit, so that's one aspect of the boomerang. The other aspect is this. Gateway Pundit reporter Cassandra McDonald set up a fundraiser for Jeannie to give her a nice vacation. It had the fundraiser has generated $200,000 for Jeannie, the Target worker, who, behaved with calm and decency, and it's a nice contrast between the right and the left, I think. But anyway, $200,000 for Jeannie. So there's a Merry Christmas for Jeannie, the Target worker in California. And come what may to Michaela Ponce, professionally and in every other way. Ron, Southside.
Hey, Dan, I just wanted to thank you again for all the fun, the entertainment, but more importantly, the great guests and the invaluable information that you bring to us. It helps us immensely. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thank you, Ron. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year to you and your family. Appreciate you tuning in and your calls as well. All of our callers. Even the ones that are critical. Especially the ones that are critical. I wish we'd get more people coming at me. Be fun. Eduardo, Tampa Bay.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, Dan, and everyone to the listening area. This Nick Ryer, he's 32 years old, and I was telling you, Screener, I think we're kind of like now like into Europe, like the kids over there that are just staying at home into their 40s, and it's pretty sad because these people should be going through trade schools where they'll be able to get savings accounts and function on their own and not be dependent on their parents, unfortunately.
Thanks for the call, Eduardo. Merry Christmas. Kevin, Austin, Texas.
Yeah, a couple things. So first, get the the trope as far as Jesus, Mary, and Joseph were all immigrants when they went to Egypt. I think it's more like because it was all part of the Roman Empire. It's like people leaving Chicago to move to Indiana to get away from the administration of Pritzker, who wants to kill all the babies through abortion. So that's one thing. And then Minneapolis, if we don't kind of get after the Muslims coming and all that, it'll be changed from Minneapolis to Abu Bakr, who was the first caliph, just like St. Paul is named after St. Paul. One thing critical with you, I hope you champion people more to get involved. You may not be able to turn things overnight in Illinois, but the way that people hold accountable is through elections. Get involved so that if you can continue to grow the Republican Party that's happened in the last few years, it's getting bigger. I mean, if you look at the voter turnout for Trump the last election compared to the first one. So I would love to hear what you have to say as far as what average listeners could do to take back Illinois.
Thanks for the call, Kevin. Speaking of moving to Indiana, the Bears may move to Indiana. No, not really. But, yeah, I mean, it's on the table. We talked about it yesterday. It's on the table as leverage to, get the infrastructure improvements paid for by the state that they want around their new home in Arlington Heights. Of course, that's what it's really about. But nonetheless, BLM Brandon was asked about it. Can't end the year without important words from BLM Brandon, can we?
All right, keep a straight face here. The Bears belong in the city of Chicago. The Chicago Bears belong in the city of Chicago, right? And I've said repeatedly that the door is always open for conversations, Kevin Warren did call me yesterday. We didn't get a chance to connect, and I still firmly believe that their best position is in Chicago, and it's evidence. The evidence is clearly speaking for itself. Look, I can't get into the psyche and the motivation of this organization. We're all grateful that, there's a winning team on the field. This weekend, obviously, is incredibly important, and there's going to be some pretty decent weather for us to be able to, clinch a playoff spot for the first time in a long time. So that's a good thing for our city and the morale of our city, and, as far as what their motivations are, I can't speak to that. And my position has been very clear. You all know that there's not been a politician in this city that has worked as hard as I have to ensure that the Bears have a package that keeps them, quite frankly, at the most unique, special property anywhere in our city.
Catch the latest on this story at
That's quite a pitch. I love to see the deck. Here's my pitch. You belong in Chicago, and the evidence speaks for itself. Okay. Yeah. Okay, we'll see you in Arlington Heights. Bill, Southside.
Hi, Dan. Thanks for the whole program of the last year. It's been very instrumental in my life. Also, I just want to remember Jimmy Lai, who's a famous journalist from Hong Kong who was persecuted and recently convicted in China of fake crimes of free speech. I propose that we decide not to buy Chinese products until he is released. So my hashtag is Made in China, put it back until Jimmy Lai is released. Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Bill. And there's another Chinese dissident who is seeking asylum in this country, and he should be granted it. This is why we can't just blindly eliminate the asylum path here. Heng Guan is a Chinese citizen who documented the Chinese Communist Party's mass detention camps of Uyghur Muslims in Xinjiang in 2020. He captured evidence of surveillance, forced labor, cultural erasure. He obviously faces imminent danger at the hands of dictator Xi, including imprisonment, torture, or worse, a la Jimmy Lai, if he is returned to China. So it's important that we grant him asylum as well. You've got to stand for people who stand for freedom the world over. That's part of the American idea. Bill Waukegan.
Hey, Dan, thanks for taking my call. I just wanted to say that I've been watching The Chosen, and I tell you, the comparisons that I've come to conclude are that Jesus and Charlie Kirk had a remarkable, they're like they were like two of the same people. And I don't know if a lot of the listeners have...
Okay. Go ahead.
No, it's just that they both spoke the word of God, and then they were both taken from us early. I mean, one, because his father said that he was going to do that, but the one that surprised me the most was Charlie's death. So, Merry Christmas, Stan. I know you're single and everything, but if you ever want to play golf with a bald guy, please let me know.
Play golf with a what guy?
A bald guy.
Oh, a bald guy. Okay, all right. Yeah, no, I don't discriminate based on hair, so I'm good. I'm good. All right. Thanks for the call, Bill. Merry Christmas. Elizabeth, Scottsdale.
Hi. Good morning, Dan. That man running for Congress out here, I'm going to look them up and try to give them a hand.
Good.
And something I've noticed, which I noticed when I was in Florida last year, and now I'm moving out to Arizona. The people on the roads are so angry everywhere. And with David's comments about accountability, I think that people would like to see our government leaders held accountable instead of all the talk. You are so intelligent. What do you think it takes for that to be accomplished?
Punishment. It takes punishing bad actors at the ballot box. There has to be a consequence. And so you don't want to talk about people being held accountable. Well, if the people don't hold their leaders accountable, then why would you expect the leaders to be concerned about accountability to the people? I mean, it's as simple as that. Obviously, it's involved, and everybody gets to participate, everybody who wants to. But, I mean, that's it. I mean, if you don't, per Kevin and Austin, who's always talking about this, if you don't get involved in deposing Brandon Johnson or Pritzker, removing them from the public offices, then why would you expect Chicago or Illinois to change? Poet laureate of Chicago's Morning Answer, Joe, Arlington Heights. Go, Joe.
The face of Christmas. The Father's love for us too great that heaven could no longer wait. So was born the most tender babe, sent to us the world to save. In an urgent dream an angel would tell, the Holy Family's departure compel. To Bethlehem they made their way, but there was not a room for them to stay. Soon laid upon a bed of straw, parents and angels filled with awe, the night sky bursting with heavenly song, to praise the birth of God's true Son. Across pastures far and wide, to the poor God's love he would not hide. As shepherds gazed upon his holy face, they saw the redemption of the human race. 3 wise men who traveled from afar, guided by his brilliant star, determined to find his holy birth, to pay Christ homage with gifts of worth. Today, colorful lights are hung and joyful carols for the season sung, but it's the presence of that holy child, one true reason, the baby Jesus, meek and mild. My brothers and sisters, can you see his face? Look closely, you'll find him in every place, offering all hearts his love to take, freely given for redemption's sake. This Christmas reflect on the babe's pure love, the greatest gift ever sent from above. He wants us to love God with all our strength and to love our neighbors, helped by his grace.
Wonderful, Joe. Thank you very much. Great work, as always, all year. Appreciate our Poet Laureate. And we can't end the year without hearing from Chuck in Delavan, Wisconsin. Chuck.
So last week, here I am. I'm eating prime rib at the Grand Geneva, and a ceiling tile breaks, and a raccoon comes down out of the sky and lands on the next table and starts attacking everybody as they was eating prime rib. So now they had to go and get rabies shots. I'm devastated. I have POSD. I'll probably never eat prime rib ever again. Merry Christmas to everybody.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year, everybody. Thanks for joining us all year. It is now 9 o'clock, AM 560 WIND.
He went from wanted in 2 murders to implicated in another to found dead in a 3rd state. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The suspected Brown University shooter who killed 2 and wounded 9 in Rhode Island Saturday